Hi everyone, Friday night again. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Welcome to the Stage by Stage show. A little bit different tonight in that we've got a one-off special, an idea that was born out of the recent live shows that we started about 4 weeks ago. So we have a celebration of the 50th year, the 50th anniversary of the first ever Galway International Rally. So a load of Irish legends lined up tonight for you. Hopefully it's going to be entertaining. Hopefully it'll run smoothly. And as always, if you're watching this live on YouTube or on Facebook, feel free to comment. Let us know that you're there. Share the hell out of it. Make sure and get as many people on here as possible just to brighten their Friday nights a little bit. But as always, once we finish tonight, we're aiming for a 2-hour program. That's the plan anyway. We'll try very hard to stick to that. But once we finish tonight, very soon afterwards, it'll be uploaded onto YouTube and Facebook, and you can watch it at your leisure, as a lot of people do. So if you can't watch it all in one go tonight, seriously, don't be afraid to jump on it. Get it on the big telly. That's what a lot of people seem to be doing. I'm getting a lot of that, people doing it on a Saturday night with a couple of beers as well. So you can watch the rugby and all those types of things tomorrow then and join in and get it done. So a little bit different to what we normally do, but it's still stage by stage. So still linked into the whole ethos of what I've been trying to do for the last sort of 8-9 months. So just basically take the learning that I've had over the years from many people who perform right at the highest level of rally in particular, motorsport, but also other parts of other life businesses and things like that. So just learning from them what makes them tick and how we can maybe take some of that advice and make our lives a little bit better in some way. Clearly these Friday night shows are just a bit of entertainment, something to do when we're locked down in these strange environments. So it's a good opportunity to just forget about Brexit, forget about the whole COVID thing just for a couple of hours and get, as my mum used to say, get your head showered and have a look at this. So that's the plan. So how did this all come about, folks? Well, it's dead simple. If I just show you the message that I got from the gentleman I'm about to introduce. So the Galway International Rally is 50 years old this February, and we were wondering if running a similar show around that time and that theme would interest you. This is a message I got on the back of the first recent live show, and it's from the current president of Galway Motor Club, Bobby Clinton, a man I've known for many, many years, over 30 years. And probably his introduction in this fantastic book, now I showed anybody who was watching last week would have seen this, The Western Warriors. So a half century of the Galway International Rally. We're going to give some of these away a little bit later. So if you're interested in that, you need to make a note of this email address. So if you want to have a copy of that book, and again, I'll just show you it. It's absolutely fantastic, put together by Plum Tyndall. As a tribute really to Dr. Esler Crawford, a fantastic photographer, contributions as well from Rally Retro from Fergus. So this is an absolutely great book. It's a mind of information for the 50 years of the International. And if you send an email to that address with your name and address, then the guys will make a draw at some point in the future. We'll keep it open until probably Sunday week. So whatever date that is, I think it's the 14th. That'll give those people who aren't able to watch it live the opportunity then to do that. So without further ado, the easiest way before I introduce this man is just to read his foreword here about a little bit around the Galway Motor Club and especially the International Rally, first year 1971. And I know, I can't believe 1971 is 50 years ago. That blows my mind every time I think about it. I was 7. So the Galway Motor Club was founded in March 1960, making it one of the longest established motor clubs in Ireland. When the club kick-started the motorsporting year with our first international rally in February 1971, we created a tradition that has continued for half a century. Eamon Cotter masterminded the early events, and on the Galway International Rally's 50th anniversary, we remember the directors and clerks of the course who have brought the event to the European Rally Championship status, attracted entries from all over the world and brought millions of euro into the economy of Galway City and County. There have been many memories, which we're certainly going to link into tonight. The Billy Coleman years, Said Al-Haraji travelling from the deserts of the UAE to tackle the snow in Galway. The McHale Fisher kind of McKinstry rivalry, Tapio Laukonen's victory by less than a second. World Rally champion Marcus Grönholm's battle with multiple winner Eugene Donnelly. And more recent times, the success of the second generation McHales and Fishers. As well as the international element, we've always enjoyed the strong local participation for the prestigious Brian G. Thornton Memorial Cup. And again, the people that we're going to introduce tonight, they're winners and multiple winners of the event, folks. We can't have everybody in here in the space of 2 hours, and there's a lot of people, clubmen, of course, the Mark II escort men, etc. we can't cover tonight. But hopefully it'll be a nice snapshot of some of the most successful people in the history of the event. So the anniversary is a tribute to the club, committee, sponsors, clerks of the course, and the teams that coordinate the 300 or more volunteers who have worked in all conditions. And of course, usually in February, the conditions are a bit mad. So being a winter event, they've had to endure snow, fog, floods, and I remember floods, ice over the years, spurred on by the motto that the show must go on. So that's a little bit of an insight into the motor club. I'm going to bring in Bobby now. Hi, Bobby. How are you?
I'm very well, Trevor. Thank you very much.
Good to have you here. What a great night this is going to be, all being well, with some fantastic winners in the back. I haven't even added up the number of wins we have between the people who are on the show.
Well, I have, Trevor, and I might stand to be corrected. I think you have 20 winners, or 20 really? Wins. 20 wins between all those people that you're going to invite onto the show.
Fantastic.
Fantastic as well.
So I probably met you, as I say, about 30 years ago. I think that's when you sort of took on the clerk of the course role. Was it around about 1994? Is that about right?
Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, I was clerk of the course for 3 years in 94, 95 and 96. So 3 memorable years for various reasons. 94, Kenny McKinstry won that one in the Legacy. 95, it was Frank Maher. Yes, Cork Cosworth, popular win. 96 was Bertie's only win, actually, I think, in the Subaru. So a lot of memories for those 3 years, indeed, yeah.
It's fair to say that your first outing as a clerk of the course was a bit of a baptism of fire, if I remember right.
Baptism is a good word. There was a lot of one. Yeah, well, that was the year that Galway experienced what was then the worst flooding in 100 years or something. And I mean, it was devastating stuff, well, not for the rally, but for the local people as well. I mean, people lost their houses and their farms, and there was hundreds of acres of flood. You know, we've seen it since as well, you know, and they've more or less sorted out the flooding issue in South Galway as far as we can see. But that particular year, the recce went grand with the intervening few days from there to the rally. So on the Saturday, we lost loads of stages. We did our best. Sunday ran perfectly, but yeah, for sure, baptism of fire is right, you know. But I came back for another 2 just to rectify matters.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's see who's in the house tonight. So first off, we've got, hi, Frankie Dempsey. Hi, France. How are you? Who else have we got? Alan Barr. Yeah, so these are people tagging people. Brilliant, good work. Sean McConstant, it's like Christmas morning. Good luck, Trev. Yeah, this is good, guys. Fantastic. Plenty of people there. Bobby, that's everybody phoning you to say you're on the telly.
Yeah, someone else.
Who else got it? Good evening, Sean. Hi, Eamon. Hello, Robert. Loads of people in already. Well over 250 people watching this. Here's a man who's plenty of experience. Hi, Derek. Good to have you here. Thanks for the show. Hi, Patrick. It just goes on and on. Loads of people here. This one's quite interesting. It's like waiting for RPM to start on a Thursday night. Yeah, there's a bit of that. Not forgetting Frank Maher up against the Works Ford team. Yeah, how could you ever forget Frank Maher on this rally? Fantastic. Unfortunately, David Wood's working, but I'm sure he'll be back. That's a fantastic photograph of him. Oh, look at this. Miss Williams is in the house. Hello, Bex.
Hi, Bex.
Good. And Roy Dempster. Right, folks, we better crack on. And now, originally, this shows you how flexible we are in this program. So originally, I was going to play out a video of the first winner of this event, but I can see my second guest has arrived here, so I'm going to bring him in first, just because he's there, he's waiting, and I don't want him to sit there for another 15, 20 minutes. So this is a man who is the only person to win the rally as both a driver and a co-driver. So that's an amazing feat in its own right. So let's welcome in Desi Mccartney. Hi, Desi. How are you?
Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay.
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Very good.
How's things?
Well, we're still here. That's the main thing. Locked up and staying in. Not doing much motorsport.
So you're coping okay. The last time I saw you and Derek Smith, who we just talked about there, and a few of you, Drew Todd, you get together for virtual coffee mornings now, don't you?
I do. We had one this morning again, and it worked out with Brian Nelson and Elkin Robinson, Drew Todd, Derek and the boys. It actually works out very well. And it has been going on now for, 6 or 7 months. Yeah. Very good.
And it works well, yeah. It'd be a bit better if you could see each other face to face, eh?
It would be. But then there are a few problems to get over before we get to that point.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully we will do, and that's the most important thing.
I'm sure it will. So we're here to talk about the Galway International Rally, and of course, way back at the start of it, you, as I said, were a winner in the co-driver and the driver's seat. So let's just talk about the first win then, 72, where you were co-driving your brother, Ronnie, RJ, in a car that was described as a taxi. So what's your memory about that? You know, right from the very start, from driving to the event, because that's what you used to do then. There was no trailers or service crews a lot of the time. So off you go.
Well, yeah, it was a good taxi. Fortunately, the meter wasn't running, so we were good that way. And we, excuse me, we started off from Larne Garage at that time, and Ronnie driving. We got a few spare wheels in. We only had about 4 or 5 spares for the car and some bits and pieces. We didn't plan to have a service crew that particular time, so we thought we'd make a weekend of it and drove from Larne all the way to Galway. And I still remember quite vividly coming up out of Larne, and I noticed the noise in the back end. The diff was starting to whine a wee bit. And I remember saying to Ronnie, "Bit whiny this one." He says, "Well, I suppose we can't do a lot about it. It's the only diff we have, and it's stuck in the back. Let us stay there to the brakes, and we'll go in the meantime."
Wow.
So we drove the car on down, got down to Galway, got the scrutiny, and then discovered there was quite a high number of guys entered in the class. And we ended up, thinking, is there any other way around this one? Ronnie came up with the idea we'd take the bumpers off the car, front and back, and a few other bits. We could move it simply and quietly out of the class into a simpler class. So we're really only aiming for a class win here.
Yeah.
And that's how we started the rally at number 19. So we were a long way down the hatch. We got to the start. We got a few stages done. I think the first stage was started. There was quite a big long straight to the first 90 left, and Ronnie was going hard enough at it. The trouble is the corner was getting closer, and he didn't seem to be touching any brakes or things like that. So it was my first adventure really of sitting with Ronnie in that car. Anyway, we got to near the corner. My stomach tried to get up out of my chest, and he got to slow down, turned around the corner, and from there on, everything was okay. That was my baptism into the first left-hander. And we continued. There were some really good stages that year, and the corkscrew, all those sort of things. I was really pleased. Ronnie drove incredibly well. He used to say he was a very talented driver. I always thought of him as one of the best. Maybe I'm biased.
Yeah, no, he was a hell of a talent, definitely. Originally a tarmac, and of course he went to the woods after that, where he really he came into his own, didn't he? Yeah,
he was a unique guy in a way because he could truly step into anything and drive it. And generally speaking, he could drive it even if there was 3 wheels on it. He liked the woods the best, actually. He loved getting into the gravel and setting the car up right, left, whatever. And tarmac he liked. Pace notes he didn't like. Eventually, whenever the thing went to the pace notes, he wasn't really so interested then. He just wanted to go out, enjoy a rally, and I suppose that's really what it all started off on. hopefully just go enjoy the roads and have a ball.
Excellent. So what did you learn from the passenger? Well, first off, how did you end up in the passenger seat? Until I got this book and I had a look at it, I had no idea that you actually co-drove as well. Clearly, I remember you driving Porsches when I went to my first Circuit of Ireland, 1975 or 6 or whatever it was. But the navigating and the co-driving side of it, where did that start?
Well, many years before that, most of you guys will remember a guy called Harry Johnson, HP, from the old motor club. He was the guy who got me interested in reading notes, etc. And we ended up going out with him, and in the evenings in his van, he was out checking his places that he worked with. And he said, "There's a map. Now you navigate me to each point." He marked them on the map and gave me the directions as to where we should approach, etc. Mm-hmm. So we did that a number of times, and that's how I learned a wee bit about it. And then I started navigating for some of the local guys in Oma, a guy called Wilbur Knox at that time. Uh-huh. And he had a Beetle. And this was my introduction to guys modifying cars, because at this point in time I never thought about working with cars and making them faster or making them better. But he kept telling me about this very good clutch. You got a fan clutch in it, you see. I couldn't figure out what a fan clutch was, by the way. But eventually I deciphered it, and it was actually a van clutch.
It wasn't some piece of trick tech from Holland or anything like that. No, it was actually a van clutch. Okay.
It was just the other side of the workshop. Parts department.
Brilliant. So tell me, from the passenger seat when you sat in with Ronnie now, this car was a Triumph. It was a 2.5. It had an overdrive in it. It's something, as a car that I did a couple of navigations in with a guy called Marshall Allen from a local motor club. But there was a split gearbox. There was an overdrive in it, wasn't there?
There was, yeah. You could have overdrive on second, third and fourth. It was actually quite interesting because you went from first, then overdrive first, and then back into normal second, then overdrive second, etc., etc. It's quite delicate, and you had to make sure that if you ever had an overspill or spin that you actually put into reverse, you really had to have it out of overdrive, otherwise it would crack the casing.
Wow. So from the passenger seat then, what did you learn from RJ? Is there anything in particular that you picked up from him?
Well, whenever I was younger, Ronnie and I were about 5 years apart. So he was 5 years further up the line, a few more years experience. Mm-hmm. And we used to be involved in a grocery shop in Oma, and we had occasion to drive an Austin A55 van. Or should I say Ronnie had the occasion to drive it this time. And he used to scare the life out of me on that one because he went far too fast.
Right, okay.
And eventually I got injured myself, and then I scared him. He didn't ask me to drive it after that.
Is that right? You sorted him out?
And it went on. It was really talented, I think, at the time. He really enjoyed rallying, and that's really what it was all about. I think it would be frowning upon the amount of technology that's on in cars now. I would say he would be saying rally cars were cars for people to go rallying, and today's cars are more like racing cars.
Just a bit.
2 seats. And of course, obviously the cars are so well built and so forth. But really wouldn't like to stand a 2,000-mile rally.
Got you. So the rallies back then were a little bit longer than they are today. So the Galway International in 1975 then, talking about well-built cars, you picked a good one. So you had your, the first time when you won it in 1975 with one of my heroes, Terry Harriman, alongside you. So just talk to us about that 911, that 2.7 911. It was more or less standard with suspension and a few safety bits on it, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was very little done with those cars. The good thing about them were a standard production car of 2.7. With a nice torquey engine, drove very well. A lot of people didn't like driving them because of the way they put the tail out and And then when they did it out, you would lose it very easily. But we liked the cars, actually, and Ronnie liked it too, because he was the first guy to drive a Porsche locally, or at least that type of Porsche, in 1973. In fact, he took the first purple car to the circuit in 73, and he was third, and I was fourth in the escort. And he reversed the tables on me, because the Galway 73, I was third and he was fourth. But the cars were good, actually. They were strong, they were standard, and the great thing about them, there were so little modifications in those days that they were a very reliable car, and if you behaved yourself in the car and didn't hit things with it, it was a good chance you could get there to the finish.
So,
in those days, people thought they were stupidly expensive, and probably, maybe looking back, did think a bit like that. But the real thing is, an escort was costing half the price. But the time the escort got to the start line, you spent as much again on it, so it was back to the same price. But the beauty about the beauty about the Porsche, when you use it for maybe 5-6 events, and you sold it, you more or less got your own money back, while the escort went backwards.
Got you. Just give us an idea around the cost of these cars. So a modern world rally car now, if you went to buy one of these Hyundais or buy a Toyota Yaris, you're talking about close to €1 million. That's the price of them. So that's slightly different to your Porsche, and you can probably relate that to a 3-bedroom house, I suppose. And
well, you buy a lot of 3-bedroom houses for that money. I know the year we won Galway Ronnie driving, the prize money was £1,000. The car was costing Ronnie, I think, £1,600.
Yep.
And there was very little done to the car apart from brake pads and suspension, shuttle joggers, that type of thing, the roll cage. To put that into perspective, £1,000 then was exactly a quarter of the price of Rosemary and I's first house, which was a 3-bedroom house.
There you go.
It was 4,000 or 4,200. So the prize money that Ronnie was getting at that time was equivalent to buying a quarter of a house. But he kept the money and I bought the house.
So there's money back in rallying, and rallying back in those days. It sounds like STP sponsor thing. I think initially, wasn't it, the first couple of rallies?
STP were very good. That company was handled by people called Team PR Riley.
Yeah, I know.
Robert and Patrick Riley from Dublin. They were subsequently very good to us over the years. And in Galway, they were very good. As Bobby will tell you, they were more than good, I think, at that time.
They were good to rallying in general. A fantastic brand. It was about a long time when I was growing up, definitely.
It was. And I think Norbert Riley did that first rally, didn't he? Billy, or Bobby might know that.
He may have done he had a BMW, I think, at the start, the BMW TI.
That's right, yes. So, but as I say, the cost of cars today, of course, WRC car, the proper one, is €700,000 or €800,000.
Yep.
I don't think we'll bother with that one, apart from the fact that we're too old.
There's also, back then, you also got support from Porsche, didn't you? You sent me a photograph the other day, which I'll get up a little bit later on, of you with Dr. Ferry getting... Yeah.
Dr. Ferry Porsche, that would be... I think he was the son of the original Dr. Ferry Porsche.
He was, yeah.
And he... that particular episode with the photograph that I was showing you, he was handing over the prize. We were involved in a thing called the Porsche World Cup at that time. And it was a series over across the world with where the Porsche company took into consideration the results of people. And we, I suppose, really looking back, it was all to do with race cars and rally cars, etc. So the overall standings, we ended up, I think it was 15th overall in the world that year, and there was one rally car in front of me. And there was, I think there was a prize given, or a prize fund of that, for our part of it, was about 4,000 Deutschmarks, which is quite a lot of money then.
Definitely. Okay, I'm just tight for time tonight, Desi. We're trying to keep everything to 15 minutes per competitor, but I just want to go back to 1975 and just your memories of that event. Any fights you were in, anything that was memorable for you about the rally in particular?
Well, we started off at number 7, lucky number 7 for us that year. We ran out of petrol, I think, towards the end of the second stage. We got a gallon of petrol out of a marshal's car, and that got us going. And we got to the next stage, and then we got fairly well through it. We had a few problems with tires again. We punctured one. I think it was a 13-mile stage. I think we punctured about a mile or so into it in the front, and we drove 11. I think it was 11 miles with a flat wheel. We came around later on that day to do the same stage, and we were exactly 1 minute quicker with the air in the tires. So it pays to have air in the tires.
Just a bit, yeah.
A Porsche, you see, in those times, you could still work with a Porsche with a flat front wheel. It didn't drive properly, but if you had a flat back wheel, you had to stop and change it. In fact, I think that's what cost me the Manx one year. I had a flat back tire, and we had to stop. It cost us 3.5 minutes to change it, and it dropped us to second that time.
Got you.
So, no, there were great days because I was very fortunate to sit with Ronnie, who I still think was a fabulous driver. I was very fortunate then to have Terry Harriman with me in '75, because he's a super co-driver. Terry and I had done a lot of rallies, navigation rallies, years before that. I think going back to 1965, did we win the Donegal all-nighter, which was maybe the beginning of the Donegal rallies.
I was one. I can hardly remember that one, Desi, I'm afraid.
To give you a pass on that one. But overall, it was a fantastic era. I can really thank Galway Motor Club for putting on such fantastic shows, for getting the prize money into place. It's a pity it's dropped off a bit these days, but that's life. Thank you, Bobby, very well for your contribution. You did very well.
Desi, thanks very much for joining us tonight. It's lovely to talk to you. I'm sorry it is so brief on this occasion, but as you can imagine, we've got a few to get through here. So thanks for coming on. You can go and sit back, relax, and watch the rest of it now on Stage by Stage, either on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. And we'll catch up with you another time.
Thanks once again for letting me on. Okay.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye, Desi. Cheers. What a star. Some interesting stories there, Bobby, yeah?
Indeed, yeah. I was looking at the book there. There was 6 Porsches in the top 7 that year.
Really, yeah.
The first 5 and then 7th overall as well. But rallying changed. But he's right about the prize money. When you put it in perspective, there were different times. It wasn't just Galway. The other events were the same. There was a big prize fund, you know. But unfortunately, it's different now.
Different now, yeah. Definitely different now. If you ever want to go rallying to get prize money nowadays, I think you're in trouble. Right, who else have we got here? A quick scan down. Damon Garvey. Hi, Damon. Kevin O'Driscoll's back in. Sean Tracy. David Cook. Mrs. McKinstry. Good luck, everybody, yeah, including a certain member of your family. We're quite close. Hello, Laura. Good to see you in again. Hi, David. Hello, Patrick. Richard Smith. Is that the Richard Smith? Sierra, John McLean, all that, man. Elis. I hope I've pronounced that right. Hi, Niall. Great. I love the fact that you're tagging people, folks. Get as many people in as possible. Another Donegal woman. Good to see. Cynthia, the young boys. Yeah, definitely. Shane, watching us live, Next Generation Rally Heads. Okay, yeah. I have loads of memories of Galway. Michael Orr. Hi, Michael. Good memories of Galway as well. Yeah, loads here. Hi, Sean. Desi was looking good. I think he's about 75 now. Desi's getting on. Christopher Douglas. Thanks, Christopher. Oh, look at this. Barbara Armstrong's in. Hi, Barbara. I hope all is well in Scotland. Now, Kelly. Yeah, Austin McHale will be here, I hope. Fingers crossed. You know, it's like trying to get drivers a lot of drivers in one place at the same time without their co-driver's help, but we'll get there. Galway was always special, definitely. That's the thing for me, Bobby, as Martin said. Hi, Martin. Galway on a Thursday night or Friday night, depending on how many days of the rally, Salt Hill, scrutineering, probably raining, all the new cars coming. It was pretty special, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. It was unpredictable in every way because, as you said, there was new cars with new drivers with new cars or different co-drivers, different sponsors. The unpredictability of the weather. As Desi said there, he was number 19, he won the rally. So the events are always open. Even if you look back at last year, 12 months ago, we had an event with nearly 20 R5 cars. And I know in the end, Alastair won it, but he'd say himself it wasn't easy. And any one of the 15 behind him could have won it. So there was always great excitement for Galway in the first round of the championship, no doubt.
Yeah, okay. We're going to go on to our next guest. So this man was the original winner of the international element of the Galway International Rally, the one we're celebrating tonight, so the 1971 event. He also claims to have won the 1970 event, which we'll find out in a second, a little bit of a story around that one. So the man we're talking about, of course, is the Abulian Cal Curley, CB, as everybody knows him. It's his big 80th birthday tonight, so I'm sure when he watches back at this 80th birthday, I can imagine it'll be a bit of fun. They've got a little family bubble, so he can't join us live tonight. It would be unfair to ask him to leave that. But I got together with him on Wednesday, and we recorded something. And again, trying to limit CB to 15 minutes, as you can imagine, is quite a challenge. But I managed to get very close to it. So I'm going to play this back now. So this is the 1971 winner, Cathal Curley. For joining us, the club are going to love this.
Trevor, it is my pleasure. And just at this stage, I would like to convey my very best wishes to the wife of Brian Brophy, Breach, who, I had some great times with Brian, her husband, and we lost him there a short time ago, and it's very, very sad. So I would just like to say to Breach that, Breach, if you're there, or if you're listening to this, or if you see it by any chance, I send you my very best regards and wishes.
Yes, here. Brian, he's a big guy for Irish motorsport over the years, wasn't he, and what he went on to do?
Mm-hmm. Massive, Trevor, massive.
Yeah. Well, here, you were involved right at the start. So the 1970 rally, the inaugural event, before it became an international in 1971. So you finished second in that one, only to go on and win the international then the following year, Cathal.
Can I tell you a funny story, and interrupt me if you wish, Trevor, and move on if you wish. The year that I was second in it, I won it by 3 minutes.
Okay.
And I recall, if I'm correct, Eamon Cotter was the clerk of the course.
That's right.
And Eamon Cotter came to me at the prize giving when Harry Johnson, Mervyn Johnson, Austin Fraser, and myself, and a couple of others, the service crew, were at the table having a meeting.
Uh-huh.
And he said to me, he says, Cathal, he says, I'd like to speak to you. I said, no problem, Eamon. He says, I have a problem. Well, I says, that's grand. If I can share it with you, I'll certainly be willing to help you. He says, you have won the rally. I said, that's right. But he says, if I award the rally to you, I have a serious problem in the timing for 76 other competitors.
Okay.
I said, what do you want me to do? And Connor, being Connor, said, well, if you can accept second place. Well, I said, who are you declaring as the winner? Okay. Well, he says, the fellow sitting beside you there, Mervyn Johnson. And Mervyn parked up at this stage, Trevor, and he said, oh, Jesus, no way, not at all. We were comparing times with CB. CB is 3 minutes ahead of us. And Harry Johnson, God bless him, Trevor, was sitting at the table, and he was Mervyn's co-driver. And Harry Johnson's words were, excuse my language, Mervyn, shut your fucking mouth. And right. That was it. And Mervyn Johnson was declared the winner, and I was declared second overall after winning it by 3 minutes.
So what was the reason for adjusting the time? That's the bit I'm confused about.
You know, I don't know, Trevor. I mean, the details and the implications involved in that there, I didn't query them. But I mean, Eamon Cotter asked me if it would help him as clerk of the court. Whatever happened, if he hadn't declared me the winner, which sounds a bit ridiculous, he was going to have to change the time for 76 other competitors. That's exactly what he told me. And if you look back at the special stage times in the 1970 rally, you'll see that we were the obvious winners, you know.
Okay.
But it wasn't to be, according to Eamon, so we had to relinquish our title of winning the rally and take second place.
Well, karma worked out the following year, really. Then, didn't it? When you won the first international, first international ever in Ireland, of course. And
yes, it was absolutely amazing. We had a party in the Great Southern Hotel, Trevor, and Coulter was there, and he was playing the piano, and we never stopped. We just went on all night, kind of thing, you know. But it was great in those days, and rallying was superb in those days. And it was much more evenly matched, Trevor, than it is today. I mean, you have the first 6 or 8 cars, you have the remaining 100 cars, and there's not a hope of one of the 100 cars winning the rally because of the advances in special cars or expensive cars or whatever way you want to term it, you know.
Yeah, well, having an Escort twin cam in those days must have been a mighty fine machine to have then, Cal.
It was actually superb, Trevor. It was a supercar and it was a very reliable engine. Then Ford upgraded them from 1600cc to 1650 and they had a lot more torque. But we never followed Boreham until a period had passed of about 2 years before they allowed privateers to buy a 1650 block or to get the cams for the 1650 block and whatnot, you know. But it was a good reliable car. But that year we won, Trevor, and it was hilarious. If I can tell you a story about the second year. We first of all we did Galway 4 times and all.
Yeah.
And we were second the first year, or relegated to second. We won it the second year, and the third year we were driving a lightweight BMW, and we were leading the rally as the past information, if it's available, will show. We were leading the rally very, very easily in the BMW, and we had 2 stages to go, and pulled into service, and the boys were hemming and hawing about will we change the back tires or will we leave them alone. And I said, whatever you think yourselves, you know, if you think the tires need to be changed, fine. So they decided they would change them. So they changed the tire. We're 2 or 3 minutes ahead and we're starting the second last stage. And we're in a very relaxed mood. Austin Fraser was a great consoling partner of mine. You know, if you had to go quick, he would say, right, okay, we've got to improve. And if you had to go slow, he ordered just, 9/10 will do you fine.
Yeah.
Started the second last stage, Trevor, proceeds up at its speed. And the next thing I saw was the rear wheel of the BMW passing me up the road on its own. And the rear end obviously had fell to the ground. Got the car stopped. Knew we had a reasonable lead, went and got the wheel, attempted to put the wheel on, jacked the car up, but the stud on the hub with the wheel coming off, the studs had got bent. We couldn't get the wheel on.
Yeah, how annoying.
We just had to sit on the side of the road until the service crew eventually got to us and got us off the stage. So we had great fun in Galway, but it wasn't by any means the luckiest rally to me. And then the last year I did it in AUI 1500. And we were experimenting with tyres, Trevor, and 15-inch rims were not the most popular in rally cars. They were all in 13s and 14s and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we were a bit short supply for tyres for the Porsche. But we managed to get 2 wet fronts. and we carried them in the service car for maybe a year or a year and a half. And in Galway, going out on a Saturday morning, the boy said, the weather's going to be bad, it's going to be very wet. So I said, right, put the wax on the front. That's exactly what we did. We went out. What they failed to do was, they failed to check the pressure in the tyres. And we were running on concave tyres.
Okay.
There was 12 pound in one and 15 pound in the other. We came to a left-hand bend, and for the first time in its life, the Porsche understeered. It just wouldn't turn around the bend. It landed up on a wee bank on its side, and Austin Fraser released the safety belt, and he fell on top of me, and the car just tilted over on its side. There was no damage, practically no damage done to the car whatsoever, but there wasn't anyone around. And so that was our fourth attempt at Galway. But it wasn't to be, but it was a great rally and great people. I mean, the people in Galway, Beatty Crawford was telling me that he has high hopes for the next episode of the Deja Vu, have it established in Galway, where we're going to get a lot of support. It's going to be a phenomenal add to the area. It brings a lot of money to the area and a lot of people to the area and whatnot, you know.
Definitely, they're great events. You know, I was up in Donegal at the last one. I saw you up there.
Yeah.
And I think they've just moved the date again, the 17th, 18th of September for Deja Vu this year. And they're going to be using some of the stages that you're probably familiar with. Beatty just sent me through a list this morning, which I'll use on the live show on Friday night.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event as well, you know.
I don't know about stages that I would be familiar with, Trevor, because I don't think Galway has pace notes. So
yeah.
there was no racking in Galway.
No, not back then, no.
No.
Started in Donegal, clearly, didn't it, in 73 probably.
That's right.
First
That's
time,
right,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I must tell you at this stage, regarding my episode there about Eamon Cotter, Harry Johnson, heaven rest him, has passed away, and Austin, my co-driver, would be very deeply involved in Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Austin is not well at all, you know.
Yeah.
He's far from it. He's a great wife and Rory who looks after him terribly well. But I was going to say, if anyone queries the fact that I won the rally the first time, Mervyn Johnson's still alive and well. Mervyn will be quite happy to recall it. Many's the time when we're talking, we actually do recall it. But Harry Johnson's line, whenever Mervyn would be a righteous Presbyterian, I would call it, right? Yeah. And Mervyn said, no way did we win the rally. No, we can't accept that. CB won the rally. And Harry returns out. Great time.
Tell me about the challenges of Galway then, Cal, with, you know, because the conditions there, anytime I was ever in Galway, it was always quite, as we would say, guttery, and the conditions can be bad between those stone walls, eh?
Trevor, what you needed in Galway, what was absolutely essential in Galway, was the likes of Trevor Agnew sitting beside you. Right? Because Galway was you know, if you hadn't a controlling factor beside you, the amount of good drivers who went off in Galway, you know, is amazing. It was a tough rally, and it was a very demanding rally, because it was, the roads weren't what they are today. Like, I mean, if you compare Galway in the 70s to Donegal in the 2000s, there's no comparisons. You know, the roads in Galway, the stone walls, the tightness of the tarmac roads, the gravel and the dirt and the muck and whatnot on it, you know, you just had to be on the case 110%, you know. But Austin Fraser was a very controlling factor with me. I mean, I used to talk about this small pharmaceutical hand coming over into the middle of the dash, you know, hamming it out. He never spoke. You just see the hand waving up and down, just slow it off, you know.
Yeah, just
but,
back.
Galway, the terrain in Galway, I suppose, Trevor, it would be fair to say it's unique.
Yeah.
Like, I did the Cork International, I did the circuit, I did Donegal, I did all the big Irish events, and there was nothing that compared to Galway. Galway was a very, very demanding rally, you know. And if you're doing it without notes, as they all were, it would definitely be very quick at catching you out in places, you know.
Yeah, that BMW you drove, Carl, it was a lightweight version of it. It was clearly lightweight by the time you'd finished it the second time when you lost the wheel off it. But what was so special about that car?
Trevor, it may take up a wee bit of time, but I'll give you the history of the car. The front bumper, the front panel on the car was fiberglass. The bonnet was fiberglass. The two front wings were fiberglass. The doors were fiberglass. The back quarter panels were fiberglass.
Wow.
The boot lid was fiberglass, and the boot lower panel was fiberglass. And the car had nothing in it, absolutely nothing. Don McKinstry and Ian Drysdale, who were two mechanics up in Brian Dowson's establishment up in Hillsborough, they actually built the car for me. And the history of the car was, it was a very fast car, but the boys referred to it, Trevor, as the flying coffin. You know,
yeah.
Because if you had went off in that car. Now, the doors were so flimsy, Trevor, that the boys had to get two very fine aluminium rods to make a notch on the door, on the inner panel of the door, to make sure that it didn't blow off. Or, you know, I mean, the car was an exceptionally fast car. And I'll tell you what actually helped the speed of it. David Agnew was doing the circuit in 72, it might have been. Yeah, I think it was 72. And we were doing it. And David Agnew ordered a new Alpina engine for his 2002.
Yeah.
But David's health was a bit up and down at the time, and he decided against doing the circuit. His engineer was a fellow called Desi Mccartney. And Desi Mccartney rang me and said, Cathal, would you be interested in an engine? And I said, Desi, I have one. But he says, you don't have an Alpina one. I says, no, I don't. And I said, what has caused this to be up for sale? Well, he said, David Agnew has decided he's not going to do the circuit. He has a new engine sitting here from Alpina, and you're welcome to buy it if you want it. I said, how much is it? This is 1972. It says it's £3,000.
Wow.
I said, I'll have it, David. I'll get a higher purchase agreement or something to coincide with buying it, but I'll have it. And it was a superb unit. It was so good, Trevor, that we retired in Donegal in the circle with a broken camshaft. Nobody's fault. But in Donegal, in 72, the car was sitting parked at the side of the road on 3 cylinders. So Austin, Doreen, Margaret and myself heads off to Killarney to watch the rest of the rally. We were out. Patsy Donnelly and Hilary Wood, having rest, the both of them, they're both dead, said to me, if we get the car to Killarney, will you do the Sunday run? I said, if you can get a cam follower for an Alpina engine in the middle of Donegal, I'll definitely do the Sunday run.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I was concerned, it was a non-starter. But we went and watched a few stages on the Saturday evening, and pulled into Killarney, maybe about 7 or 8 o'clock on a nice bright evening, into the accommodation that we had booked. And I looked up to the top of the road, and I saw this white Datsun 180B estate with a trailer on it and the BMW on the trailer. Right?
And you knew you were in trouble.
I definitely knew I was in trouble. We did the Sunday run, Trevor, and we won it by 5 minutes. And if you go back through the records, Adrian Boyd and Chris Slater were actually leading the rally, and we took 1.5 minutes off the two of them on the Sunday run alone. But it was hell for nothing, Travis. You know, we were out on Sunday, and we were just on the limit everywhere because we didn't have anything to lose. But the car was so good. That's how quick it was, you know.
Did it feel safe when you were in it? Like, were you conscious?
I had.
It is German after all.
Pardon?
It is German after all.
It is. Well, Sprachen Sie Deutsch? was German all right. It felt extremely safe. But then, you know, as I got on in life, I started to think about things. And I mean, if we had had a side-on impact in that car, the only support we had, support, well, the roll cages in it, but outside of that, the only steel that was in the car was the roof.
Incredible,
and
isn't
John
it?
McEnany built he must have taken the way the 2002 at the time belonged to David Agnew, and I think, Trevor, we were something like 500 or 600 weight lighter
That's incredible, isn't it?
than the 2002 that there would be rallying.
Well,
Warrnambool, do you remember Warrnambool doing Donegal?
the green and white machine. Yeah.
I'd say our car was at least maybe 400 to 500 weight lighter than. I mean, there was nothing in it. There was no window winders. There was a cord to open the door, a wee fine cord to open the door. No door handles inside. It was a phenomenal bit of equipment, but I mean, to go off in it would have been very, very dangerous.
I know. I remember sitting in minis and the same sort of thing, and I that way back in the day, you never really thought that much about it. It was part of the crack. Well, listen, we never got to talk about the party in Galway, but I need to go.
Well, the party in Galway, Trevor. The party in Galway was a green light from 8 or 9 or 10 p.m. until 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock in the next morning. It just went on and on and on. A lot of people were well past their best, I can tell you.
Everybody hoarse from singing, eh?
Absolutely.
The best
Plum
part.
was there too, and Plum was in the middle of it,
Oh, I could imagine there'd be plenty of boys in the middle of it. Cathal, I need to let you go this time. Listen, by the time this goes out on the program on Friday night, you're going to have a wonderful time celebrating 80 years on this planet.
Absolutely, Trevor.
I hope you have a wonderful night in the circumstances. I know you've got a little family bubble that you're participating in, and all the very best. And here's to the next 80, Cal.
Trevor, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And let me assure you, it's been a complete pleasure. And hello to everybody in Galway and all the rest of the rally guys around the country.
Cheers, Cal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Trevor. Well, there you go.
That was an excellent interview. That was wonderful now. And happy birthday to him. If he's 80 today, he was 30 50 years ago. So that's when he was competing in the rally. He would have been a scrutiny about now.
Yeah.
Years ago. But he mentioned, if you don't mind, 3 people there from Galway Motor Club.
Of course.
Him and Cathal brought that event, from nothing into what it really became. It became around the European Championship under his watch. He was an Irish national rally champion in a BMW, funny enough, is what Carl there was talking about. He died a number of years ago while he had immigrated to America. He also mentioned the 2 Brophies. Brian, you referred to yourself, the backbone of Galway Motor Club for so many years. Unfortunately, Brian passed away a couple of years ago. And his wife, Breege, similarly was involved in every aspect of the club. She was president of the club. She was competing. She was clerk of the course, I think on 2 occasions. Not many female clerks of the course. So, I'm glad he mentioned those people because they certainly were key to the event in the earlier years,
Yeah, I remember all those people all those years ago. It's just an incredible event. But CB, 80 years of age, and a memory like that, just reeling off stories after stories. An incredibly fast driver in his day. He could put it up to the best in the world when he came over here. And again, just one of the guys from our island that could have went on to be world class if that had worked out for him at the time. But yeah, that was literally 15-20 minutes of a conversation that probably lasted an hour and 15 minutes. We just talked with both plenty of time, and I just love chatting to him and just reminiscing about all those times. Well, we'll have to get him back at some point in the future just to tell a few more stories. Right, okay, time to move on. We've got more guests. So my next guest had some giant killing drives in the early days of his career. Mark II Escorts we're talking about here. But the big memory for me was the first event in the Caliper Subaru Legacy in 1992. He won it and repeated it again 2 years later. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Kenny McKinstry. Kenny, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Just getting over the effects of Bacardi.
I wouldn't like to think you're getting over it.
All not very well. Yeah, I'm on a cup of tea now, so I'll be good.
I see. Did you peak early then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you see, I have 2 daughters, and one of them just lives very close to me. And, she just arrived over here at 5 o'clock after work. And sure, we had a couple of wee nips, as you would know rightly, and there it goes from there.
That'll get the stories flowing in a second then. It loosens the memory up, doesn't it? Okay.
That's right.
You sit your ground a minute. I've got someone else I want to join you with. So he's won the rally 5 times over a 22-year period. In the passenger seat, 3 different cars along the way with 3 different drivers. So Bertie Fisher, Mark Higgins and Gary Jennings. He's the most successful co-driver in the history of the rally and the second most successful competitor behind someone else who'll hopefully join us soon if he hasn't got lost. Welcome, Rory Kennedy. Hi, Rory. How are you?
Hey, guys. Hi there. Bobby, Kenny, how's things? Great to see you and a great night of celebration for the Galway Rally, Bobby.
Indeed, it's fantastic, and I'm really grateful to Trevor now and all the rest of you for taking part. And very appropriate, because a rally should be taking place right now. We should be at scrutiny right now. This was our date.
It's probably the next best thing, Bobby, under the circumstances, anyway.
And it's just as nerve-wracking, I can tell you.
No.
Right, Mr. McKinstry then. This legacy in 1992, the man on the other side of the screen there probably thought that he should be in one before you. So how did you end up getting the legacy ahead of Bertie?
Oh, it's very, very difficult to know. We pondered greatly out over what was the next step. We had a Group A in Causey, and we had the sponsorship from Caliber, as you know. And a deal was put together, big van bought, and so come the legacy. Took it to Galway. Really, it was just a completely different animal. The sound of the exhaust was something else. The power that it had was, you would come out of a junction in that car, in second gear, where and just light up 4 wheels with it. It was unbelievable. Probably the same type of thing and power as Austin's Toyota at the time and whatever. But just such a great thing to drive.
How much time did you have in it before the start of the rally then?
It's that long ago, I don't know. I don't think we had an awful time. I drove it over in England before we actually got bringing it home. Susan, a daughter of mine, we went down to Belfast and lifted it off the boat because it was just driven onto the boat. Brought it home. There was broken discs on it where it had been at the test track, and there was on our way home, and we were driving pretty easy. It blew the turbo. I got Martin Spurrell then around him, asked him what was going on, why first of all there was cracked discs on it and so on. But just they hadn't been changed. They had forgot to change them before the car was actually put in the boat. And there was a turbo failure. So he arrived over a couple of days later with a turbo, an exhaust manifold, and 4 new brake discs. And I think I got terrorised and belly down here maybe for a couple of evenings beforehand. So we didn't get an awful lot, but look, the car, compared to some of the stuff that I had been driving, the car was just a dream to drive, like power steering and all the stuff that went with it. The amount of grip. We were in Dunlop tires at the time. And Dunlop, they made super wet tires, absolutely brilliant.
Before we get into talking about the legacy in 92, I want to go back a little bit because, as I said, you've had some fantastic performances in Galway. Now, I remember you from the very start, Kenny McKinstry, when I was probably about 12 years of age on a Sunday night in Banbridge in an escort, trying to egg people into the Bronte Homeland Drive for a bit of a race. So that escalated a little bit to, we got you off the streets and into the lanes, and you did some navigation rallies. But in the early days, even the car you used for work, you used that car in Galway, if I remember right, didn't you?
Yeah, we took it. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that was probably, I'm not sure why that was later. I think that was probably later. The first Mark II Escort that I had a 1700 BDA in it, and that's what we used to see off all the boys from Lisburns with their Ferenzas and all that stuff around the Bronte Drive. But yeah, we took a Group 1 RS 2000, and I'm not sure what age, what year it was, Trevor, but I think it was maybe 78, 82 or something. It was quite far back. And yeah, we were seated 75 anyway, I think it was 75 or 76. And towards the end, I mean, it was a wet event, but we just found ourselves that we were fighting for 6th overall with Richie Healy. And we had got, I don't know what had happened, but we had got a time, and I think we were penalised half a minute that we shouldn't have been. And we went into the last stage, I think it was either 43 or 48 seconds behind Richie Healy. But we knew that we had 30 seconds to come off our time. So we had a crack on the last stage of the rally, basically to try and take the 18 seconds off Richie. And of course, about 4 or 5 corners from the end, I stuck it into a wall. Kevin Doyle's boys, they happened to be there with their van watching, and they actually jumped into the van and drove to the end of the stage. And we ended up putting a Sunbeam, Kevin Doyle's Sunbeam radiator into the car and got it into service. And I think we finished 2nd in Group 1. I actually think it was my first time in Galway. And 6th or 7th overall as well. You know, it just suited. It was like a 10-mile rallycross. That's basically, every stage in Galway what it was like. It's wet and slippy and real good crackly.
Mad.
Yeah.
Right, somebody else joined us now. So this gentleman won the rally 6 times over a 14-year period in 4 different cars, with 4 different co-drivers: Christy Farrell, Ronan McNamee, Dermot O'Gorman, Brian Murphy. He's the most successful competitor in the history of the rally, a true Galway legend. And when I think of Galway in February, my abiding memory is Austin McHale in the charge. So Austin is with us, thankfully. Took a little bit of a while, but we've got him here now. How are you doing? You're looking very chilled and relaxed there.
Yeah, sorry for getting in late there, Trevor. We've been trying to get in for the last 10 minutes. Good evening to yourself and Bobby, Kenny, and Rory.
Hi, Austin.
How are you doing?
We're all here tonight. So Kenny's just been telling us stories about his giant killing act in Mark II escorts, and there's no better man than you for a giant killing act in Group 1 cars and Mark II escorts. The Group 1 story, I know it's not Galway related, but going to the Mintex rally in a Comer van with a black escort in the back of it in the snow and ice and finishing 3rd overall behind a Rickle and a Rothman's car, that has to be right up there, I think.
Yeah, it was a good result. It was a lucky result, really in a way, But yeah, that was in '81 in the Mintex, and we took the gamble and into the forest, and we went for it, and we got the times that got to the end of the rally. We ended up 3rd, which was a good result then, But like the RS 2000s were good. We started really the first rally that we did in Galway, and I think Bobby probably remembered. I think it was about 78 in a Mark 1 twin cam escort, and I had a co-driver was a good friend of mine, a guy called Dermot O'Neill, which he ended up brother-in-law of mine afterwards, So, but that was the start of us in Galway. I had gone spectating. I was listening there to Cathal early on. The first time we were in Galway, I think it was back in 70, 71, and we probably was 16, 17, and Galway was really something special, I think, to everybody at that time, because it was a 3-day rally. And I think it was spectacular to starting on the Friday evening, Friday afternoon, and maybe going to 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I think probably Kenny remembers that as well. But, I thought it was really one of the top events in the country at that stage.
So do you reckon your first victory, 1985 in the Monta, is that your best memory? Because we always remember the first one, but it's not necessarily the best one.
Well, I always really remember back in the twin cam, because it was a different kind of competition. We started sort of back in the 70s and the 80s, and to finish up in the top 10, well into the top 10. But yeah, my best memories of Galway would be obviously first win there, which was in 85 in the Manta. And, you know, CB was talking about the BMs and the fiberglass and the etc. But the Manta was much the same. Fiberglass bonnet, boot, doors, perspex for windows, bar the windscreen. So I think we might have a little bit of an advantage on CB and that, or I don't know about the weights in comparison, but I think that I see Rory smiling there with the time with Bertie got his lightweight Manta in Donegal in 83. It was the first one, or maybe the lightweight was probably after that, maybe 86, 87. But, you know,
the Shell Gold Card one, that would have been Rory, was it?
Probably would have been, yeah. I think it was the lightest Manta that was ever built, you know, but they were excellent cars then, and, you know, Galway suited the cars to an extent as well. You know, I always really liked Galway because the first round of the championship was the first round of the year, and like obviously that time Killarney was the last round, and that'd be in December, and we'd have maybe 2 months with nothing to do, for a better description, and everybody would go to Galway. And I think the crowds used to go to Galway, and the organisation and the way the rally was run was second to none. For I think there's been bigger crowds in Galway than there would have been at Easter, which was the next round of the circuit, for in a small space of around Galway city and that, you know. So, you know, it has its own special attraction, and you know, the stages were something else, which we. No, it's very seldom you get a dry day. You wouldn't see any dust rising from the stages anyway, that's for sure. Into the water, the snow and ice and etc., which we learned over the years, and you know, it was something special.
You were quick all over the country, but why Galway? What in particular about Galway was it that made you, like, you're just another level up on most people in that rally?
Well, I think I really like the muddy, wet, bumpy stages. You know, like one year in Donegal, it was based out in near Clifton. In Galway, out near Clifton in Mam's Cross, and the real bumpy, hard driver stages. I prefer that. I was never really into the Ulster Manx sort of racetrack kind of stage, flat out stuff. I think then it's really the tight, twisty stuff, and the muddier the better. The conditions, the worse the conditions, the better, you know. So.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the BMWs there. I think 1990 was the battle of the BMs, and the one car that if you ask a lot of people when they start to think of the livery of a particular car, the Extra Vision Black M3 is one that's right up there for most people. So that particular rally, where you and Bertie, as you said, had a massive big fight. I think in the end you were separated by 2.5 seconds, where I think Rory, but you guys had electrical problems at the start of it, I think, and then you had a massive big fight back, something like 17 fastest times to come back at Austin, and the gap was what, 2.5 seconds at the end? Is that about right, Rory?
Well, I'm not quite sure, Trevor, if it was 2.5 seconds. I think it's a wee bit more than that, maybe. But it was Austin's first rally in the BM, the Extra Vision BM, him and Ronan McNamee, and it was again. Well, of course, the Galway rally is very unique, and it gives you, you know, the type of rally. It's a full winter rally, like, and you have the full winter conditions, and you go there and you could expect floods, as Bobby alluded to earlier. You could have snow or ice and gutters and rain. So it's always a very challenging rally anyway. But in particular in 1990, Austin, if you remember, we all began, like you were there for the first time on the BM, but we knew we had to get the jump on you early on. So we got off to a flying start and got into the lead. But unfortunately, our battery died on the stage. I think it was the second last stage. Our battery died the second last stage of the first day. And we eventually got a farmer to give us a battery and a set of jump leads, and it got us out of the stage. But we had a storm and drive, Trevor, as you say, from to come back and finish second. But I think there might have been more than 2.5 seconds in at that time, Austin, I think.
Was there a wee bit of a
bank?
I
think there was a bit more of that. Yeah, it was our first rally in the M3, and obviously the M3 had a 6-speed gearbox, which took a little bit of getting used to, you know. But as I said to Bertie at the time, he probably deserved to win that rally. He was the fastest car on the event. But unfortunately for him, that with the Pro Drive, obviously didn't put in the battery connections right on the batteries or whatever happened. So that was up for him there.
Yeah. So that's we went off on that Brady's Yard stage, Bobby. If you know Brady's Yard, we went off on that. Went into the field there, went through a flood, and we ended up in the field, and we got back out through the gate, and away we went. And then a stage or two later, the battery gave up, because obviously a winter rally like that, you have your heated screen and all the additional electrics in the car, and the battery just ended up, I don't know what happened, and they ended up it left us stranded on the stage.
Yeah. We were probably lucky enough, really, to win Galway that year, because of Bertie's problems. But we won it for 2 years in a row with the M3, which was happy enough again, and we won it again. I think that was 88, 89. So the M3, a lot of people say to you, like, wouldn't be really suitable to Galway because it was a more racetrack car as such, but the conditions that was in them 2 years, there was torrential rain. I remember one of the years, I can't remember which it was, but we were happy to get the results. And then, we were talking about the Battle of the M3s that you were asking about there. That went on for the rest of the year, and the following year, and into the Donegal and Killarney, and they were a very reliable car as well. And unfortunately, with us in Killarney in 1990, both the back diff broke. But the overall aspect of the BMWs, and I think Rory would agree, and if Bertie was here, he would agree as well. They were a very easy car to drive. They learned how to drive in a way. I think as all BMWs were, but were very competitive and very reliable. But that's
without a doubt. There's no doubt the M3 was an incredible rally car, and in that particular year, Austin, you talk about 1990, and you won Galway and so on and so forth. You won Donegal, I think, that year. And then at the very end of the year, you broke down in Killarney, and we went on to win the championship for the first time. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that, of course. And that's header our room, and it was a monumental battle. And I think we had to finish in the first 4 or 5 or something like that. And Bertie hadn't won the championship up to then. Not taking that away from Kenny there now, in the competition over the years, but the rivalry was there, and that happened. And talking about the M3, so Bertie won the championship, etc. So fair dues. But I'll always remember back to Galway, which we're talking about, was 93, and it was the start of the first year for us in the 165 Seleka, as they're known, the 185 and the 165, and Kenny. We had a monumental battle there as well, and up to the last stage, I think, Kenny, if you remember, there was maybe a handful of seconds in it, and I remember that there's this new Pirelli slick tyre. I can't remember the numbers of it now offhand, but it was a semi-slick. It was a very soft slick, and we took the gamble because it was a sort of a drizzled, half wet, half dry, and we got a bit of an advantage on Kenny on that. And I think it was in that one particular stage that we got that advantage that we won the rally. So you probably remember that, Kenny, particular time. I think it was 93.
It would have been 93, yeah.
Yeah. Galway was always down to tires and getting it right, and it was not a very easy task in getting the tire situation right, but we certainly had some good battles now, even out of Galway, so they're fantastic.
But 1991, you had a good run, Kenny, as well. It's probably, Austin, one of the, if there is ever an easy rally, but 91 in the M3, did it feel easy enough, that rally? That's where you finished third in the Group N Sierra, Kenny, in 91, I think. Austin, what do you think?
Kenny
91. 91, I don't think I did it in 91 in the M3, or did I?
No, I think Kenny won that rally, and we were second. Kenny, do you remember we had a mechanical near the end? We were in the Sierra Sapphire, and you were there in your Subaru, and you just went on to win. The very last stage was the Dyke Road, Bobby, if you remember right.
I think Kenny won 94.
We were in the Sierra.
And I think that was the first time. But I was in the Legacy the first time, and I think Bertie was second. Rory, is that right?
That's the same rally, aye.
And then
That'd have been 90. That'd have been 92, Rory.
Yes.
92.
That was
Beg your pardon.
92.
Yes.
92. Beg your pardon, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry there, Trevor. I just checked on something there. Yes, we did win the rally in 91 in the M3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1990.
I was white that year.
Huh?
Go ahead, Bobby.
It was the first event, and the car was still white in the X Division colours. He changed it to black then after that, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably in 1990, but I think I just checked it here. They had we won it in 1991 anyway, and probably the car was 91. You know, so.
Yeah.
And like black was our colour for a lot of the time. You know, back with the Shell, and Shell Manta was black for the majority of the time, and the BMW ended up the same. You know, so.
Rory Candy, you need to get your facts right. What's wrong with you? You call yourself a co-driver? Jesus, man. Hey?
I was on that. By the way, Trevor, I was in that Galway rally in '91 racing Austin, but I was with Frank McHale. It was one of the one and only time I ever co-drove for him, and it was the Galway rally, and we were in the Mark II, and we were having a great old. Well, Austin was a good bit in front, but we were chasing him and that famous Mark II, and unfortunately we retired on the second day with a mechanical as well.
Was that the Duckham's car?
That was a Duckham's car, yeah.
Talk me through that. He's some driver, only Frank Maher.
Oh, Frank was a great driver and a great history in the Galway Rally. Do you remember when he raced them years where he raced Mark Lovell and he really set the pace? But again, there's not. He was very, very underestimated driver, but like a fantastic driver at the same time. And having that opportunity to sit with him on that rally was certainly a highlight for me. It was. It only came about in the run up to the rally because his regular co-driver became unavailable, and a few days before it. I think I got the call on the Wednesday, and of course the rally was starting on the Saturday, so it was a very rushed affair. But anyway, great driver Frank, and obviously very sadly missed.
Yeah, indeed, well said. Kenny, what do you remember about '94 then? The second time you won in the Legacy.
Oh, frick, I don't know. There's that many bits and pieces like.
Ring Philpott there. Ring Philpott.
Yeah, is Maggie there? Get Maggie out, Jesus.
Maggie's there too, but sure, look, I wouldn't remember. I know. At one stage, we were doing the recce, and there was a whole blockage at the start of the stage, and Willie John Owen pulled up behind us, and Trevor Callers and two or three other boys. One that was sat and chatted for 10 minutes or so, and the queue was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we went up to see what was going on. And a farmer, he had a Jeep out across the road. He was blocking the road. And he just wasn't going to let anybody down in at all. So Willie John Dolan, he went up to him. And within 10 minutes, the stage was open again. And I says to Willie, what went on there? He says, sure, look, he's just a farmer at the end of the day. He didn't half understand what was going on. And then he says, I started to talk to him about huggets. Now, I didn't know what the hell a hugget was, but apparently it's a yo lamb. And he says, sure, put on like a house of fire and one ahead by, there's no problem, like, you know. But yeah, Galway was just always a slippy rally, and it was always a rally that you looked forward to get going in. And there was another, I think it was in that second time that I won Galway. And it was one of the night stages or just dusk. And we come round this long right-hand corner, probably fifth or sixth gear. I know it was really, really fast. And the next thing I seen was a bullock just walking across the road. And it was only going from the farmer's gate till just the opposite side of the road. Well, I don't know how I got past it, but I know that it left a burn mark off his ass on the window of my Legacy, which was still in my car whenever I sold her. And Philpott didn't even see the bullock. So he didn't. He had the head down. He was shouting out loud, but he didn't understand why we were halfway up the ditch. But yeah, some crack.
Close thing. Wow. You mentioned Willie John Dolan there. He's actually watching, as is Peter. Peter says hello to all you guys. So yeah, they're watching up in Castledurg there. Go back then, Austin. So these legacies had the run of you in 1992. So you struggled a little bit probably to get the ST165 Celica going, but that all came together for 93, Austin.
Yeah, just something else, another story I'll tell you there. Kenny just reminded me of it. Back when we were started with the Subarus, and we were doing Galway, and that was fine. Garrett was doing it as well, and we had 2 Subarus out of Subaru Ireland. So that's fair enough. They hadn't been registered yet, and they weren't running on trade plates. So that was particularly about the time that the local police were interested in any car that wasn't registered, maybe with a Southern Ireland reg or etc. on them. So we came down and it was at the trade plates, and came down to where this checkpoint was, and that was fair enough. We pulled in the checkpoint, and Garrett said, "All right, pull on up the road there." So I went on up the road, and sure, didn't tell me to stop, so I didn't stop, and I kept going way on up to do the recce down the stage, and not a bother. The guard says, "I told him to stop," and that Garrett was there, and Garrett said, "Well, he would have had," said, "if he did," but sure, that was all right. We went on and done our recce on the stage, but Willie John was coming down to the end of the stage, and the guard went up to the end of it, and he seen the blue Subaru coming, which is the same colour as the one that we had. Here's my man now coming. So, yeah, and Willie John took the blame for us, but that was always part of the story, the recce and that, But poor old Willie John,
There's no better man to talk us out of it.
Maybe he shouldn't be saying this at the start, but I think the guard felt like a bit of an idiot anyway, because for accusing the wrong man. So that's the way it goes. Nobody felt any worse about it at the end.
A case of mistaken identity. Do you have any stories, guys, between left-hand drive and right-hand drive, the guard coming to the wrong side of the car or anything like that in your days of rallying?
Yeah, I have. And I wouldn't want to offend any of our police force, etc. But we had an episode, son of mine, Gareth, going to Rally Ireland, and he had Peter Solberg's recce car. And it was pulled in, and the guard came up, gets out to the patrol car behind him, and puts on the hat and the jacket, and comes up to the driver's side. And the guy was co-driving for Garrett. I won't just say his name on this, let the window down, but people do their homework, they know who it is. And he says, "You're going a bit quick down there in such and such a townland, etc." And Garrett says, maybe it was Garrett there or whatever. So he says, "What's your name?" Took his name, address, and the whole lot, and he was sitting on the driver's side, the right-hand side of the car, to the left-hand drive Subaru. So he took all the information on it, which was taking the co-driver's information.
Of course he was, yeah.
There was some of them things that would happen, they're the good stories, and there's nothing bad about them or anything else, what makes the crack after an event of that worthwhile,
So 1993, when you got that 165 working properly, you had a mighty fight with Kenny in that rally. Can you remember that one, Ken? 93.
Are you talking to me, Kenny?
I'm trying to get Kenny to see if he can remember anything. I know he's getting on a bit, but you're going to have to write this stuff down in the future.
Yeah, I didn't even think that I'd done 3 Galways with the legacy. But look, it was a car that was always going to be up there if we keep it on the road. I'm not sure. Austin could maybe tell me, and Rory could probably tell me as well. We ended up, we were using Dunlop tires, and I think this was the same rally, possibly. Those guys were using either Michelin or Pirelli, and it just so happened that those new regulations come out where they had to be 8-inch, and that the scrutineers being scrutineers and so technical and all that there was nothing any different about the tires we were using. But at the end of the day, my tires were probably the only legal tires because they fitted inside this 8-inch piece of wood that they were running about with.
Okay, I remember that, yeah.
And there was a lot of discussion, I think maybe, I think maybe Rory could remember, because Austin and Bertie were sitting at the end of one of the stages whenever we were playing it. And Austin, just in his own nice way, he says, what's going to happen? Are you going to protest this? You know, if we win this rally? And I said, sure, Austin, there's not a chance that I'm going to protest frigging out rally. So just as we were driving off, Philpott, he says, just out through the window and left the boys wondering. He says, we don't honestly know what Dunlop are going to do. And off we drove. So there was a lot of pressure on what might have happened. It was never going to happen, but it was, it made no difference till the legality of the tires were all. I think it was like a 16-inch of a difference on the sidewall. Not even the tread,
I think I remember, Kenny, I remember that incident particularly well because we were Pirelli at that time. I think Austin, you might even been Mchale at that time. But of course,
you're talking about 2003.
No,
93 it would have been, yeah.
93. 93 is the year that we won in the Sadiqa in the 165. And as I said to you earlier, they knew Pirelli slick.
Right.
Yeah.
They had out, and that new Pirelli stick was actually narrower because a semi-ice tire to an extent, a soft compound.
Right.
So there's no chance or any risk, Kenny, of it being oversized with the Dunlops.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear, it was a narrower tire. But talking back on the tires, what you're talking about there, you're probably maybe remember back on something else. Yes, we got excluded as the Isle of Man with the M3 for an over slightly millimeters.
But I don't think that's ever. Yeah.
So that was the only episode or what we had.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah. I'm not sure which it was, but it was just on the sidewall. Like you remember that, Rory?
Yeah, we had both, Kenny. I think we got a stock of the new type ones, and we had the old type ones as well. And it's typical, like at the first rally of the season, Bobby, Galway Rally. The Galway Rally were placed in a very awkward predicament because all the new rules apply for the first time at the Galway Rally. So the organisers are going around scratching their head. The competitors are saying, well, can we do this or can we not? And all the new rules apply. And it was, for the organisers at that time, there was a lot of head scratching and trying to figure things out. And that happened quite often, Bobby.
Absolutely, yeah. Over the years, any new rule that came in, Galway was always first. And because it was always right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you and I, Bobby, having managed a conversation before the rallies where we'd ring you up and say, well, what about this and what about that? And we're sort of trying to figure out these issues before the rally would begin.
Okay, let's move forward then because I'm conscious of time here, Austin. So probably your favourite car was the ST185. That's Celica. And we're moving into 1997 for the first win in that one. So at the start of that rally, you were probably a little bit behind. You had clutch problems, and Mr. Nesbitt was on the scene at that stage, but he ended up kissing a stone wall towards the end of the rally. So, what's your memories of that one, the first time in the 185?
Probably the memories of the like for Galway. Just what I meant to say earlier. Our first win in nearly all our cars in the Manta, the BMW. The Salikas were in Galway, which I was very happy with. And 97 was the 185. Remembers that rally? It was a very slippy rally, which Andrew found out for his misfortune. And I think at the time, everybody was recognised as the Welder, was the nickname we had on him. And he was leading on the Saturday night by a handful of seconds from us. So, obviously, the wind-up went on at the start of the first stage on the Sunday morning. So Brian Murphy was co-driving with me, and he obviously knew Andy fairly well as we did as well, So Andy had a guy called George, and Rory, you probably remember George.
George Miller.
George Miller was a co-driver, and I have to say I had to smile when I came down the stage, and it was about halfway into it, and Andy had gone off on a T-junction, but that was the conditions in Galway. If you gambled, you got caught, and sometimes you get away with it. But that was just unfortunate for him. But we've had our episodes in Galway as well. We went through the scenery enough too.
Yeah, those stone walls don't give much, do they?
No, they wouldn't be too forgiving, and as I said earlier, the conditions with the snow and the ice and the rain and the polished tar and the beat had to be on the roads and that sort of thing, left it very slippy and unpredictable. And that was, Galway was really down a lot to the driver, because that time we wouldn't really have mudlock crews out, or I think a lot of that time was maybe the rally was blind earlier on. I don't know when the pace started. I think it was maybe early 90s, was it, or whatever. So.
It was nothing to do with the MacHale wind-up at the start of the stage either. The famous MacHale wind-up.
I just talk us through that one, Austin. I'm sure everybody like to know the psychological armory that you had.
Well, I suppose one of them, and Rory probably remember, after you got rest of them over the years, you go up and you wipe your rear view mirror from the outside. After he was done on the road in front of you, and the reason why with Andrew that they were sort of nicknamed the welder on our end, etc., was that he wouldn't even bat an eyelid. He wouldn't look or anything else. If he did do something like that, he was just focused on what was happening. And I think McKinstry will remember that stuff as well, and Rory. But yes, of course, everybody would be winding up, and everybody would be doing their own way of doing it, and that would be part of the scene. That'd be all the part of the sport.
Yeah.
So another big battle in 1998, Rory, 25th anniversary year, Bobby, as well. We're talking about then. So Bertie had a special Subaru, it's fair to say. A mean machine from ProDrive, the silver car.
Yes.
So what was the crack with that car to start with, and then talk us about the battle that you had over the weekend with Austin?
Well, that car was, I think, that car obviously replaced the blue car that we had all the success in. Mm-hmm. And again, first rally being Galway. Was it 98 or what year was that, Trevor?
98.
98. I'm just trying to think. We've raced that many times, Austin, in Galway, and chances are if Austin won, we were second, or if Kenny won, we were second, or Austin was third. There was a wild mix there, but I can't actually vividly remember that one. But we had one in the blue. We had one in the blue car previous to that in '96.
Sorry, it must have been It would have been 99.
99, I thought.
99, yeah.
Well, sorry, just before 99, we won in '96, and that was our first win, Bobby. And the rally finished in Ayr Square, and I'm sure Austin and Kenny will agree. Like, it was a great finishing, a great amphitheatre for finishing in the middle of Galway City on Sunday evening, And I remember well, it was that particular evening. Anyway, first time winning Galway is superb and brilliant, and the TV coverage and the crowds and everything that were there. It was back then, Bobby. The rally was fascinating rally, and Austin mentioned the crowds just to turn up on the stages was incredible, and it was a golden era of rallying, really. Back then. So
yeah, I think the nature of Galway as well. It was wet and slippery for you guys. It was the same for the spectators. If you think about it, unlike Donegal and Doom, you go up on the hillside and you can stand, and have a great view of things. In Galway, you were trying to find your way into a junction and find somewhere to stand. So the crowds maybe were bigger and looked bigger. The access was narrower, so spectators had to walk for miles to get to their expectation point. I think it was all anticipation, really. You guys coming with new cars, new colours, new co-drivers.
Yes.
Yeah, great times all year. But as I said earlier, though, last year, the year before, the excitement was still there,
last year in particular. The 98 rally, Trevor, I think Austin won that. That was the year the rally was up in Moycullen or Moycullen area. The first stage of that one over the mountain from Moycullen over to Barna, over that direction. And I think Austin,
Clifton. Austin was talking about it earlier, yeah.
I think on that stage your wipers jammed. If you remember, you were in the 185, I think, or at that time.
Yeah, that was the year. That's the year we're out in Clifton, out of Mam's Cross. And I remember the stage.
The very first stage, your wipers jammed, and we passed you on the stage.
And the wiper. We had it. That's because of the wiper now.
That's what I'm saying. Your wipers jammed, and of course it was raining, and we caught up and passed you. And we come down the stage.
the funny thing about it was the stage, I think, was about 12, 15 miles long. It was really followed up. It's really bumpy stuff, and we were about half a mile or mile into the first stage, and the wiper stuck out over the windscreen on the driver's side or on my side, you know. So mine was okay. He could see, but I couldn't see. So next thing, I was keeping an eye in the mirror, and I see Bertie coming. So, anyways, we let you out. You know, we didn't hold you up now.
No, I don't. No, you did not. And what's more, when we came to the end of the stage, Austin, we really, once we had gotten past you, obviously this is the main challenge. Like, we got to the end of the stage, and as soon as Bertie looked in the mirror after he crossed the finish line, you were right in our bumper because you were able to see where we were going and obviously keep up with us through the stage. Like,
the last few miles of the stage, I remember that the rain had stopped. It was a shower. It came dry and in the distance. So yeah, we had you caught at the end of the stage. Dropped at 30 seconds. So that's I think it was 32 seconds actually on that stage, roughly at the time. But and that was 98, wasn't it? And you know, for the battle, and I think that was maybe the year that you know, for actually I can't remember what stage, maybe Bobby Wood, that Bertie hit the back wheel on the left hand side and the gateway into a house. And we were running behind him. That was, I think it was maybe the second or third stage on the Sunday morning. So obviously he dropped time at that. But, I repaid the compliment.
That's right.
You know, but that's the way Galway. That's the way Galway went. Like we lost Galway's 2 or 3 Galways by the same thing as G did. Myself and Bertie and Kenny are off the road, and a lot of drivers as well.
Kenny will tell you, they're the most trickiest, the most difficult.
Sorry, Rory. Just that feedback we're getting there, folks. If anybody's got somebody in the room watching this live, that's probably what the feedback. You might not be, but sometimes that happens as well. Sorry, go ahead, Rory.
No, that was the challenge of the Galway Rally, unique challenge, and the conditions were treacherous, and you really had to push, like, because Kenny knows to his detriment, and Austin, like, you really have to, if you want to try and win, like, you've got to be at your best. And that particular day, Austin, we hit the back of the car. We trailed it out into Athenry service area. And John McLean was with us back then, Trevor, and John and Robbie and Wesley and Sydney and Paul Harth and all that. It looked as if our rally was over, and miraculously they were able to put the car back together. And I think we were able to continue and finish second in the end up there.
That's what those boys loved, that, didn't it? A proper shit fight. That's
proper shit fight, that's right. Yeah.
Excellent. Guys, I'm just conscious of time here, and I don't want to take all night with you. It would be remiss if we didn't just reflect back, Austin, Kenny and Rory, on Bertie. Of course, the rivalry that you guys had, the three of you on the stages. But I remember one particular tarmac prize given Austin in the Sleeve Donard, where at the bar after the awards with you, Bertie, and Rory might have been there, and the crack was mighty. And it's just those times at the end of the year when all the rivalry gone, but the crack and the banter was good. That's what made it for me, Kenny, Austin, Rory. Those are the special times, I think.
Well, for me, anyway, you know,
absolutely.
Guinness, I admit to that, and I got Bertie to drink a few pints of Guinness as well. I don't think he ever got to drink too much. He'd be more on the shorts, etc. But yeah, but you know, when the rally was over, Galway was always very good, and I think the Galway Motor Club put on a show second to none. Really did an excellent job, and maybe they get the prize games, they get the car in some of the prize games, etc. over the years. But I think just not talking about the Galway Motor Club, that I'd like to say something on. I think they're one of the best motor clubs in the country, and it's very hard to start the first round of the year, first rally of the season, to run everything according to plan. But there's one particular thing that I remember, and I was fairly young at the time, wouldn't be even 20, and time with the Twin Cam S Cup was the following year, and I just something to say to the late Brian Brophy now, and that time the rally was starting the Friday, we were going Friday morning, but anyways, the engine blew in the Twin Cam, and we said, this is it, we won't be able to make the rally. And a very cooperative car hire company in Dublin decided to give us a car to do the event. But that was fair enough. We rang the Motor Club and got Brian Brophy, and he said, well, the rally was starting at 3 o'clock. I remember that distinctly. He says, you're seated, I think we're in the 20s or something like that. He said, if you get here by such and such time, I'll do scrutiny, give you the start, road books, etc., etc. But that was a thing about Galway Motor Club that I have to say, and it's a thing that I remember about Galway, and it's a thing I've ever appreciated since, was they were so helpful. And to do something like that, for us to go, we're young and just starting out and say, right, okay, you got your car together, you got everything done. That stage, you didn't have to have roll cages or that sort of thing, to just an ordinary road going car. And we went on to win the class that particular year, but for Ryan and the likes of the Galway Motor Club. And I tell you, there's other motor clubs in the country, and you'd be wasting your time even ringing them or telling them they had a problem. That's how Galway were.
Fantastic, well said.
Just something that crossed my mind earlier there this evening,
Mm-hmm. And of course, Deja Vu this year is on.
Got away from what the question was.
It's okay. It's just really wrapping up really on any messages like that about the Motor Club and the 50 years and the anniversary of the rally. And of course, you're going to be guest of honour at the Deja Vu this year up in Westport. I think the dates are confirmed, or as confirmed as it could be. We've postponed it to the 17th, 18th of September. So that must be pretty special. Galway and Mayo. Your thoughts on that, Austin?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And, we did Donegal, and I had my eldest grandson, Adam Kelly, with me in Donegal. And he was to come last September. And it was, obviously for the obvious reasons with COVID, etc., that postponed to this May. It was very disappointing for him. He was 9 then, he's 10 this year. But very disappointing, and really looking forward to it. We thought maybe earlier in the year it might be the first actual event to run for sport in the country. And he's put back now, Plummett's put back. Obviously for the health of everybody, etc., to go back to come on in for a second. This is Adam coming in beside me. It's our eldest lad, grandson. And
come on ahead, Adam.
See Kenny there, Rory.
Hi.
Yeah.
Adam.
You met Rory there. You met
Hi, you.
Adam, what did you think of the run? What did you think of the run round Remelton last year?
Oh, it was very, very good in the M3, and going up all over the old stages was very good. And this was good sitting beside my granddad.
Was he telling you plenty of stories as you went?
Of course he was.
Was he showing you all the holes in the hedge where he went off over the years?
No, just doing the handbrake turns.
Probably wouldn't want to tell me.
All right.
He had a run as well, just while you're on there, is in Warm Balls 2002, the TII. After can't remember the guy's name that owns it. He's you probably know him.
It's Philip Wiley, was it?
I think, yeah, but we got a run out the road maybe about 10 miles and back, but like that was a proper rally car. No doubt about it. I really appreciate
Fantastic.
it. But please God, we'll get going this year with all the epidemic and that over. When we at our age now, there's two of us here anyway that we have to really watch what we do, and talk about Kenny and myself, and we get to that age we don't want to get any of these viruses or anything else.
No.
Somebody asked me a question earlier. Let's see if I can get it up here. Specifically for you, from Michael Line, does Austin ever intend on doing an historic event like Killarney? So that would apply to you as well, Kenny, I suppose.
If we had I don't know whether the sneak of the 185 is still in for the historics yet, but I wouldn't mind doing the M3. I did Ballinan, the M3, but yeah, definitely we would look at it.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't apply to you, Mr. McKinstry. You're still driving Subaru World Rally cars, so why would you go back to a historic car?
Yeah, well, would you believe, Trevor, we're actually putting together at the minute my own BDA. Sean, he got the block and head and cam box and all out this week. We were looking at DA1 cams and L1 cams. That
brings back memories, doesn't it?
Maybe a Mark II Escort. yeah, for a bit of crack. Like.
Good man. Any last comments about the Galway Rally, Kenny? Memories that you had, or anything particular you want to say before we let you go?
No, not really. Just just to Galway. I mean, it is always an event to look forward to. Again, like what Austin was saying, whenever you went to Galway, if you had a problem in scrutiny, somebody sorted it out for you. If you had a problem wrecking on a stage, or you got your car, a tire punctured or something like that, and you were running a bit late, make a phone call, you're accommodated. Look, people in the south just are, they're fantastic, every one of them. I find most motor clubs treat all us guys, absolutely brilliant, so thumbs up to Galway.
Excellent. Kenny, Austin, thanks very much for your time. Rory's going to stay on and talk about Gary Jennings, his win with Gary Jennings. Guys, thanks very much. You can go and relax now and watch the end of it.
Thanks,
Take
Trevor.
care. See you, folks. Thanks a million.
Bye.
See you, boys.
Cheers, guys.
There we go. Some boys, eh?
That's for sure. Very interesting stuff there now. Yeah. Well done, Trevor, now on getting all those together.
Well, we got there in the end. There's a bit of a worry going on there with Austin. He was there, but he wasn't there, but we got him sorted anyway. Rory, what do you reckon? Those were big battles with those two guys.
Look, I'd never quite come out there, Trevor. The real battles that went on there. These boys are legends of the sport, like Austin McHale. Like, I mean, Bobby's going right back to, I think he said 75 or 76. He's going to the Galway Rally, like,
yeah.
And ever since I was growing up, Austin McHale's been a legend of the sport, similar to Billy Coleman, really. And the race against them boys, and Kenny, who was that Subaru that Kenny brought to Ireland back in 90, whatever that was, Bobby, was it 92 maybe?
The Subaru, the Legacy was 92, yeah.
92.
Right.
That was the first time a Subaru appeared in Ireland. Like, somebody owned a Subaru in Ireland, like.
Yeah.
And Kenny brought that there, and he had the Caliber sponsorship, and it was a real professional outfit, the whole thing. And like him and Robbie were, they were a very good team and very fast, and we raced them all year, like, but they were very strong. I think even that year they won the championship, like. So Kenny McKinstry, like, is a godfather of rallying in Ireland, and as you rightly say, Trevor, he's still competing to this very day, and top-notch WRC cars, like.
Yeah, incredible.
Pleasure to be involved with.
Cool. Right, we're going to get another driver in now. He's won the rally 4 times, again over an 8-year period, 3 different cars, 2 different co-drivers, Paul Keeley and Paddy Toner. Eugene Donnelly. How are you, Eugene?
Hey boys, how's the form?
Very good. You've been sitting there listening to us for a while. What's your thoughts so far?
Been laughing my head off there. Starting with Cathal, like, I mean, a legend in his own right, but listening to Austin there, my first one, I beat Austin in the Corolla. Funny enough, I don't remember too much about it, but a very wet and muddy day, and a battle. Started out with a puncture on the second stage and fought my way back till won the rally, and just a massive achievement I felt at the time, and something we didn't even expect. And as has been mentioned, the partying went on for a while that night, Mm-hmm. Great memories.
So the first time you won the rally, it was the last round of the Tarmac Championship, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was late in the year, yeah.
The name was changed as well, Bobby. It's called the Ireland West 2002 Rally or something along those lines.
The West 2002, I think is what it was
right,
called.
Okay.
I think it was October or November, actually, yeah.
It was late in the year, all right, and I think it was the first one that Kumo Tyres had on an international rally, albeit it was still a one-day rally, and we had been doing quite a bit of work with Kumo at the time. I think we did quite a bit of forestry stuff and some tarmac rally and some national rallying with him, and it was Paul Kelly's idea to do the rally, and of course Philip Moynihan, the minute he got a sniff of it at all, like, he put the pressure on to make sure that we went, and of course the whole team crystallized together and got behind us, and as I say, you'll never forget your first international win.
And it was your first time in a World Rally car, yeah? The Impreza P2000, or? Yeah,
it was a car that Stan Harper had for hire, and again, an eventful test of the rally. the first run I took in the car, I clipped a rock and burst the rim clean off the car. I was very lucky didn't take the strut out of it. So there's a whole panic in the match to get that sorted, and I might have got 20 or 30k in it before the start of the rally. But see, this is the thing, like, as the boys all mentioned earlier, it's the whole build up till the event. Now, in talking about the Galway West Rally in 2002, as you say, it was the last event of the year, but it may as well have been the first, because it was such a build up for us, a new car and, you know, a relatively new tire and a big event that I never would have done like before, you know. So, but Galway was always, you know, had that challenge that you usually were in a new car. I think I just was looking there. I debuted the Corolla there, I debuted the Mini there, and the Subaru there. 3 cars that I had never done a rally in until I went to Galway. And,
you know, if you talk about the roads that Austin liked in Galway, we've got the bumpy roads between stone walls. It's not ideal to debut a rally. Usually a tarmac rally has been, or sorry, a tarmac car has been refined for continental roads. You bring them to the back end of Galway and try and get them tuned into those roads. Sometimes is a bit of a challenge as well, yeah.
Well, I have to say Galway was always very kind to me, barring that first rally where it rained cats and dogs for the whole day. But I think when I came in 2004 in the Corolla, it might have been a bit of a shitty start, the first few stages, but it started to dry out. And through the rally, you just got this lovely, you know, dry effect of the tarmac, even though it was cold and it felt damp, but the car, or the grip was there, and the roads just come to you, you know. And I do remember certain stages of that rally. We had a big battle with Tapio Lincoln, and I remember saying to Paul, you know, this thing is like on rails. And he says, but the roads are still slippy. And I said, no, it's on rails, like, you know, and you just felt the thing was coming to you, you know.
So
Galway was lucky to me that way.
This is a Finnish driver driving on tar, and you're having a battle with him. What's wrong with you, man?
I should have won the rally. The bogey time caught me out on the last stage. We were quickest on the last stage, and Tapper actually slid off. And I think we took whatever 6 or 8 seconds out of him, but both of us beat the bogey time, and he happened to be in the lead. So I was denied that one.
Yeah, Tappy was a good friend, and Tappy spent a lot of time with tarmac coaches. Rob Wilson, who I interviewed recently on the podcast, and also another guy called John Stevens. So Tappy was a very shrewd character, and light and quick and tarmac and a kit car as well. So he definitely can race. It's some Finns like that, of course. Remember EP Esa-Pekka Lappi when he came over, Juha Hannanen when he came to Ireland, and of course Granholm, who you had a bit of a battle with. We'll get to that one later. I just want to go back to 2005 in the Corolla, because you had a big battle then with Austin, if I remember right, on that rally.
You've caught me out there. One thing I can remember about 2005, it was the second day of the rally. Was an extremely frosty morning, and again, as I say, the rally has always been fairly decent to me as far as the weather was concerned. But I remember pulling up till the start of maybe the second stage of the day, and there was a massive delay. And it was so cold outside, it might have been +1 or 2, and nobody really wanted to get out. But we were going to be there for 10 or 12 minutes or whatever. And I had the helmet on, and it was all snug in the car. And I just said to Paul, here, listen, I'm not getting out. And I just left the car ticking over and I rested my head against the seat. And the next thing, bang, I fell asleep. Car sitting idling. I must have been out for 3 or 4 minutes. And your man gives me a dig in the ribs. And I jumped, and I look over and I said, what's wrong with you? He says, you're sound asleep. He says, oh, I said, I just had a wee snooze. Like, that's what I always remember about 2005, the rally I went to sleep on.
Yeah, I think it was the first rally where Kevin Lynch came out and had a go on the first day.
Yeah. Oh, that's the rally he went off on. Yeah. Where he got caught out. Yeah.
Second stage, I think.
Yeah, he got caught out very badly. Very unfortunate. I think nearly everybody got caught out where he went off at. But yeah, he was starting to come to light, and an up-and-comer man that, you know, just appeared out of nowhere, and the next thing, firing up these times. Yeah. The strange thing about it, that you know, all through my rallying, it might seem very strange, but I very rarely took much interest in what was going on around me other than the fact that, are we quick enough, Paul? And he would usually either tell me, catch yourself on, you're not going fast enough, or you're there or thereabouts. You know, it wasn't the case. What's his time, or what's such and such doing, you know. And I suppose that came a bit from Paul anyway. He was always the cool cucumber in the car. And, you know, if I did ask the time, he'd say to me, what do you want to know that for?
Right. Okay.
And Galway was always one of those rallies you had to just stay cool. Like, you got to get to the finish of it.
Yeah, drive your own rally, and you can't go flat out everywhere in Galway, I wouldn't have thought, in those days. Yeah.
Well, I think, as I say, Paul would have been the master of, you know, dictating the pace. Like, and he didn't really have to say it. All he just would have done was, you know, made a subtle comment. You know, we better put a push on here, or, you know, something subtle that just registered that, you know, you got to concentrate and get the finger out. You know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the year Johnny Milner was over. She had a brake disc that failed on the car, and Milner was over in an Octavia. And then you had a big ding dong with Austin, I think, on the last day. And I think Austin spun. You won by about 35 seconds or something like that on that rally.
Well, there you go. You've been reading the history books. My memory's not that good.
Fair enough. You can't remember those things. That's interesting, isn't it? That
I don't really remember that. I remember the first rally. I remember the first Galway, and it's just the fact that Austin was there. And I think he was having trouble with the Corolla and the setup of it. So I always put it down to, you know, he had car problems, and that's why I won the rally, because he was such an icon, as we said, and you know, he was the man who won the rally 6 times. I think he had won it 6 times at that point. Like, and you know, to beat Austin McHale in Galway was just a massive feat, and I was happy to take the result even anyway. But I always said to myself, I didn't win that on pace. He was having problems with the car, you know.
Yeah, 2006 then, back in the Corolla again, a big battle on the first day with Tim McNulty, and Tim was certainly fast in his day, but not necessarily consistently fast, I suppose it's fair to say.
Well, Rory mentioned earlier the tactics of the wind-up. Tim was definitely in our group. He was the wind-up merchant, you know, and always good for a laugh. As you say, very, very quick at times. Just could pull a time out of the bag that you would just scratch your head and go, where the blazes did that come out of? But he lacked a little bit of consistency until, you know, recent years. And I think, you know, like Tim was trying really, really hard, and there was no doubt in his ability. But I always put it down that he was trying too hard. It was 11 tenths with him, and when he learned to drive at 10 tenths, which we've seen what happened, he just, you know, the times just came, and he got the consistency, and he won his championships, you know. Yeah.
Rory, any thoughts on any of these battles? Can you remember much about those?
Well, I was just thinking 05 and 06, and Gary and me were just starting out in them, and that time, I think in 06, Gary and me did Galway in the Group N car, and we broke down the very first stage, like absolutely stopped in the very first stage. So it was a wee bit later in years. Then it was a couple of years later before I got back. 07, I think I was there. Mark Higgins and me were there in the Pirelli Subaru, and unfortunately on the very first stage we had a puncture. I think that was a very icy rally, probably from what I can remember. The conditions were really icy on the first stage, that Ballybuck stage, and we had a puncture, and Gareth McHale was off the road, and lots of things happened, and anyway we ended up 4th or 5th or 6th maybe, and Eugene raced Gronholm all the way. Isn't it? That's the same year, Eugene, I think.
That was the same year. That's the famous year, and there's many a tear shed after that.
You were actually third in that rally, Rory. You're doing yourself in places now.
Yeah. It's not only me as a bad memory. Yeah.
I'm getting worried about that, man. Yeah, the Gronholm race, and just talk us through that one.
Well, look, I think the most poignant moment I had out of that rally, for whatever reasons, you know, Marcus pushed hard. He couldn't really just get on the pace, and he had a spin, I think, on the first day and dropped a bit of time. We started the rally fairly cautious, brand new car, again on Kumo tyres, and they just seemed to suit Galway. Like we never had a bad result on a Kumo in Galway, and I just remember getting the pace built up, and maybe the 3rd or 4th stage, the whole thing came alive, and I can't put into words what that felt like. I mean, it's nearly an outer body experience. This thing comes at you and you feel it one with the car. And the times was there, albeit that, we weren't taking lumps of time out of running, but it was a second here and maybe 2 or 3 there. And, at the end of the first day, you're driving in the road and here's a 2 times world champion in a fully works WRC car driving on the road in front of you, and you're actually leading. And I think the most poignant moment was when I was getting into the car on the Sunday morning to leave Park Fermi, and Kylie, he says to me, okay, right, come on, pull up there, get up there to the timekeeper, and we'll get a time here a couple of minutes early and get ourselves sorted. And I pulled the car up, and the next thing he says, right, look behind you there. I said, what? He says, look behind you. So Subaru's not the easiest thing to see behind, but I got sprackled around and looked out behind me, and there was Groningen sitting behind us. I says, well, what am I supposed to be looking at? He says, it's not every day you'll see that there, starting in front, 2 times world champion, first on the road and beating him. And I just, again, another one of them surreal moments. But unfortunately, we pushed hard all day that Saturday, and there's no point in saying we weren't on the limit. Like, we were right on the limit. And the car had a wee inherited problem right from day one when I got it. And in testing, it seemed to have an issue with 4th gear. And we had to change a gearbox in testing, and on the first day of the rally, we had to change the gearbox again. This problem with 4th gear, and it had developed then in the 3rd gearbox we'd put in the car in a week. And she started missing, as you were coming down the box, you couldn't select 4th gear. So you were going from 5th, missing 4th and into 3rd. So 2 stages to go, pushing like blazes. And, we were nursing the problem pretty well. We weren't losing much stage time. And it was just going to be a real nail biter. And unfortunately, I just come into the right-hand bend. And again, it was a corner I really needed 4th gear for. And I remember consciously thinking, no, I'll get the car slowed enough. And I went, 5th, 4th, and she missed 4th and into 3rd. Or whatever way it upset the car. And I actually think I made it pull the gear back up again. And just the car went sideways and just clipped the ditch with a quarter panel and just flung it around and put the nose into a tree. And, that was bad enough. But then the next thing, a flame shot out of her. I nearly crapped myself, Mm-hmm. But look, just in a split second, it's all over. And from the highs of winning the rally 3 times to leading the rally over a 2 times world champion, and till smoke coming out from under the bonnet and your £400,000 rally car about to go up and smoke, I can tell you, it's a feeling and a memory I don't want to carry out of Galway. No.
But Marcus is a good guy. I'm sure you probably had a beer afterwards, made him sample a pint of Guinness. Did that happen at all?
We tried to sample the beers before it on the Saturday night.
Right.
The gravel crews got together on the Saturday night, and I think there was a lot of shenanigans went on. But we met in the bar, and of course, we swapped a drink. He bought me one, I bought him one, and we had a bit of a chat. And subsequently, in the last few years, I've got to know him quite well. And he was over there doing a test with us last year, like just after Christmas, and last year with a Proton. And we were reminiscing again about the incident in Galway. And he always remembered, he says, oh, very quick, but tires very good, he used to say, So, he's fond memories of the rally. And as I say, a friendship built out of it.
So that was 2006 then, 2007. So, Rory, 2008, you won the rally with Mark Higgins then, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Trevor. As far as I remember. No, that is 100% correct. 2008, we were very fortunate to have the Global Group and the Global Property Group in Galway sponsor us. They sponsored Mark for the Tarmac Championship that season, you may remember. And our first event for them was the Galway Rally. And very good preparation. And they brought Mark in with one job in hand, and that was to win the rally. And even though we struggled again, we really shouldn't be harping on about the Galway Rally when people will be gearing on about the weather and the snow and the ice and the rain. Eugene, as you well know, like the Galway Rally is a winter rally, and that's what you expect. That's a unique attraction to the rally. Like, you go there for that. And, we went there, and the rally was a difficult enough rally now again. We were, I think Tim was leading, and we were, for some reason, further behind. But we closed them down on Sunday.
Just weren't quick enough, Rory.
Well, it took us a while to get quick enough then. We sped up after a few stages. But anyway, we got into the lead on Sunday, midway through Sunday. And it was out again, Athenry country, Bobby, and it was very snowy that morning. Really, considerable bit of snow. But as the day went on, it sort of thawed out again. And we went on to win. Great win for Mark, coming over second time to do the Galway Rally. And a fantastic driver to be with. And we were very, with the local support from the global group there in Oranmore at the time, Tom Curley and them, it was great to be, great to be part of that. And again, another great Galway Rally.
I just want to rewind a year then. The first stage in 2007, what happened on there?
First stage in 2007, there was black ice. The stage started very early in the morning, and there was black ice, and we went wide on the corner, and we had a rock, and we got a flat wheel, very early, well, midway through the stage,
Just fast forward 1 year, first stage 2008, what happened there?
First stage 2008.
I think there might have been a puncture involved there by tripping a rock.
I know one thing, Trevor, and you can attest to this. When you were co-driver for Mark Higgins, you were always very good at changing punctures. Is that right? I could always change wheels very quickly. But anyway, that was probably the same thing. But anyway, 2008 was a great victory. And when I think back in the Galway Rally, Bobby, I'm just thinking, I first went to the Galway Rally. It was the Great Southern Hotel near Square.
Yes,
Then I remember the Salt Hill Hotel.
That's
I remember the Corrib Hotel, and
Oh,
the more
Great
recent
Southern,
years, the Clayton Hotel.
Correct.
Was there any other ones, or was that pretty much it?
There was the Radisson for a year or two. John O'Connell. Yeah, John O'Connell bought the Radisson for a couple of years, I think.
Yeah. I always remember these social occasions, Eugene, in these places afterwards.
Well, I remember going to the social occasions, but don't really remember leaving them.
Seems to be a theme there. Listen, Eugene, any other comments about the Galway Rally or anything you'd like to say before we let you go?
Well, obviously we won the rally in 2009 in the Fabia.
Oh, sorry, yes, of course, with Paddy. I forgot to talk about that.
And to be fair, that's one of the years that the weather wasn't so good to us. But I remember coming up to the stage, and there was a marshal at the end of it, at the entrance into the stage, which might have been a mile or maybe 2 miles in from the end of the particular road that was closed off. And I remember this marshal standing there, and he had a pair of trainers on him, and he had a little light, rain or light, one of these light bomber jackets, but it wouldn't keep nothing out, it wouldn't keep a snother out, and he was standing there, no umbrella, no hat, nothing, and it was 1 or 2 degrees, and the rain was just not taking time to come down, just real sleety old rain. And he had been there the first time we went round, we went into the stage, and I came round the second time, and I remember looking at the lad, and I stopped. And I had a jacket in the back of the car, and I gave him the jacket, and I looked at him, and I said to myself, typical Galway Motor Club. There's a lad there, he's standing out, to help us and let us do the rally. And, you go to Donegal or you go to Killarney, okay, they can get a bad day's rain, but they'd never get conditions like that there. And that poor lad had to stand out there the whole day and wait on idiots like us coming around. And that's what I remember about the 2009 rally, the determination, the people that stood out there, the piss and rain to let us compete. So there was no complaints about 2009. I got a puncture in the rally. We had a good fight with Kevin Lynch. I probably won that rally through the weather as well. There was massive floods. And I think Eamon Boland may have been leading the rally after the first day, and Kevin Lynch might have been second or the other way about, but there was a massive battle between the two guys, and I wasn't in that battle.
You were a minute behind at that point, a minute and 15 seconds.
It was quite a bit behind. And I remember, the two of them drove through the same puddle of water, and the two Subarus gave trouble over the next 2 stages and subsequently went out of the rally. And Gareth McHale then he was in the rally, but he had trouble very early on the first day, and he was quite a ways behind us. So, I had a cruise to the end on the second day, albeit that, Gareth was putting up some unbelievable times, and I was scratching my head thinking, "Oh, I don't think I could go that hard," you know. But the finish of the Galway Rally was always an event, as Rory said, not just on the prize givings, but you come into Ayr Square, and in the recent years you had those pyrotechnics on the ramp, and there was always a great old buzz to it, and it's those memories you'll always have from the feeling of finishing a Galway Rally, first rally of the season. Especially when you won it. And unfortunately, I've had a couple of occasions where I've been second, but the buzz at that ramp is still every bit as good, So it's a great event, like a brilliant event.
Brilliant. 2009, of course, was a big moment for Paddy Toner, who sat alongside you, his first international win. Which is great for Paddy.
Well, Paddy sat with me for a long time, and he obviously would have done all the gravel notes with Charlie throughout the Curley years and the big years that we had success. So it was only right to get Paddy bolted into the passenger seat, and but Old Dripperstown crack and a few old yarns, and lots of Guinness afterwards.
Perfect.
And it was great to get him. It was great to get him a Galway win, but also great to get him a championship, because he should have won the national championship with me in 2003. And on the last rally, I rolled the car into a field in Donegal and robbed him of that championship. So I made it up for him in 2009. So
2009, then, your starter for 10. Who finished 10th in the rally in a Ford Fiesta ST? His co-driver was Andrew Purcell. Come on, Rory, you should know this.
Oh, Donnelly.
Yeah, 10th overall in the 2009 rally.
Donnelly.
No, Craig Breen.
I was going to say Craig Breen, but I can't
there you
remember.
go. No, you need to say it the next time. Eugene, thanks very much for giving up your time on a Friday night. It's been great just to reminisce about it. Well done on those 4 victories over the years, and thanks very much for joining us.
No problem. Good luck, lads. All right, Rory. All right, Bobby.
Cheers, Eugene.
Bye. Right,
Mr. Kennedy. You went on then to have another couple of wins with Gary Jennings. Now, if I got Gary Jennings on here tonight, we'd be here until 12 o'clock. So you're going to have to be Gary Jennings. So do your best Gary Jennings impression.
Get my hair fixed first.
Yeah, just talk us through those 2 wins then, because it was different, it's fair to say, in those years when you're in a World Rally car, 12B versus R5 cars. Is that about right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gary and me won in 2016, and I think it's 20 years exactly from when Bertie and I won first of all in '96. So really, that's sort of there's something in that you would think that I would start sort of taking a bit more serious and starting to wise up. But anyway, it was always nice to come back and win. And with Gary, when you go to a rally, Gary's fans' favourite, spectacular driver, and everybody knows what to expect. But I think really with Galway, the secret in Galway is your tyre choice. Eugene talked a wee bit about it there. And in particular, Kumho tyres were always the best tyre for that rally. That time of year, it was in the drier and hotter rallies in the summertime, they maybe may not have been as good. But certainly in Galway, they were very good. But we had always Kumho and Ears, David Moynihan, Philip Moynihan looked after us there. And we always had the crew to get the right information and to have the right tyre choice. And quite often, when you had that right, you went on to set fastest times. But anyway, the conditions, them kind of conditions suit Gary down to the ground. The conditions I've kept going on about, how winter it is and so on. The combination of that, tyres and a fantastic driver. Like we had a fantastic victory in 16. So it was unbelievable now. And again, when you go to a rally with Gary, you don't always get home on the Sunday night. That's the problem. As you know, I'm very much back in the office first thing on Monday morning, but Gary might not be.
But it's a spectacular spin alongside him, surely. We watched the video when he was on a couple of weeks ago, which was fantastic. Just no problem moving that car about. Like there's no straight line in there.
No, well, everybody says to me, what guys, he's mad in the head or he's nuts, he's whatever. But when he gets in the car and the light goes green at the start of the stage, he's a completely different person. And he never lets go. Like he's one of them drivers. You just read him the notes. Every corner is a reaction. Every pace note is a reaction. And he has the ultimate speed and raw speed and incredible car control. And we've had some fantastic times together. We've won some fantastic rallies, and I really enjoy being his co-driver. It really is. It really is a laugh a minute, and it's full on. So,
what do you remember about 2017 when you made it 2 in a row? Then was there anything particular stands out about that year?
17 again. You know, I could go into all the preparation, Trevor, that's involved, you know, and so on. We've talked about that many a time, like, but really, the people talk about the secrets in rallies. One of the secrets in Galway is your tires. Like, and the Kumo tire was the perfect tire for that rally, and that's why we had so much success. And as you look back, Eugene said the same thing about in his time there as well with Kumo. So, look, Galway to me is, I've gone to Galway, Bobby, since 1977 as a youngster, going to service for Andy Higgerty in an Opel Cadet, and James Cullen was Andy's co-driver back then, and I was I think I was only 15 or maybe 16, no, 15 I think at the time, and I was there reading the maps for the service vehicle, you know, and getting around, and I remember being there. I think maybe Roger Clark was there that year, if I'm right in saying that.
He was 79, yeah. I remember you and I taking part in night navigation rallies together. You were with a guy named Charlie McAteer, I think his name was in this corner.
Charlie McAteer as well, yeah. Used to come down to Galway and all sorts.
I beat you once in a rally. I was delighted with myself.
Very good. But you know, the Galway rally, you know, the regions that it visits, you know, like Mam Cross, Bobby, Moycullen, Octorard, Athenry, Lochray, and of course, not to forget, Gort was the main town for the Galway rally back in the day. And I remember there as a youngster at the Galway rally, James Cullen and me were spectating, and Roger Clark came in. He was was driving for Ford at that time, and he drove in, and he had the proper service vehicle and all the mechanics and the whole crowd standing around, and we were standing there as two cubs, James and me, watching this and carrying on. And then to wind the clock 20 years further on, we were in that very same square, Bertie and me, with a Tough Mac team, and did exactly the same thing, you know. So, you know, it's a lasting memory that you never forget, obviously. And every time I used to always have to drive through Gort when you were heading to Cork or Killarney or wherever, and always think driving through that square, them thoughts would always come rushing back. And to me, they were fantastic memories of, you know, great times. Like.
Brilliant. And the memories, of course, with Bertie over all those years. And it makes sense now. These guys have been waiting, and the last two competitors are going to come in and join you. So we have, of course, the current holder of the driver's title of the Galway International is Alastair Fisher. Hi, Ali. But you're a little bit cloudy there. What's going on your internet? You need to put a quid in that internet. And of course,
you see me all right there.
Number one Coey. Yeah, that's a bit better now. Gordy Noble. Hi, Gordy. How are you?
Can't see Gordy at all.
These guys, they both look a little bit fuzzy. Whatever's going on, you've been hanging there too long, I think, in the background. What do you think of the stories tonight, boys? I know you've been listening to a few.
Yeah, it's been great. Great to hear the stories. There definitely would warm your heart and sort of send shivers down your spine at the same time. So, you know, listening to Austin and Kenny there and all the boys, it's it's great to hear those stories. And I often say that I think we do take things a bit too seriously, the drivers of my generation, and without a doubt, I don't think we'll have as many stories in 20 or 30 years, but we'll give it a go, haven't we?
It's definitely a common theme. I'm glad you said that, but it is a common theme, not just in drivers, but people in sport in general. A lot of the time when people look back, they always say, God, I wish I had enjoyed it a little bit more. It was never a problem for me. I enjoyed myself, don't worry. Probably too much, but there is that theme that keeps running through it. It's fair to say, but totally different times. And you think back to what these guys were doing. Cathal, right at the start, I don't know if you heard that or not, and a party with Phil Coulter in Galway that lasts 12 hours is usually a good one. And you're probably going to leave there with no voice and certainly not been able to drive home for a while, I'd have thought. Just go back then. Clearly, we'll talk about the 2020 win, but we've done that a little bit in the past. I'd just like to know, Alastair, a little bit more about the battles that you had in Galway in particular, because you had some really good races there, some really good competition, I suppose, and good goes at people.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to my first Galway was 07, was the first year the Ford Fiesta ST Championship ran in Ireland. And there was like Conor Harvey, Johnny Greer, Barry Greer, and it was the year Granholm was there, so it was sort of Granholm was over with the Ford team obviously, and the Sport were running the ST Championship. So there was the Friday night before the event. There was we would get together in the Clayton Hotel, and Marcus was speaking to us and stuff. So it was a pretty good first memory for competing on the event. Again, I think we were all pretty nervous because it was the first event in the STs. There was a lot of hype on the, I think I can remember, heading out the road that morning and sort of not knowing what to expect. It was the first sort of real proper championship challenge. So that was my first memory, 07.
Cordy, what's your memories of Galway over the years? Jesus, you're back with Kennedy here in 1927, 1977. Did you have a go at Bobby Clinton in your day then? You're on mute. I can't hear you. Come on, Coey, get your act sorted. We can't hear you.
He's an engineer.
Press button there.
I have pressed
Go
button
ahead.
there. Could you not hear me yet? Yeah, you hear
I
me
can
now? Sorry, you got back to those days. I'm only young compared to kind of Rory. I 1989, which is a Robin Lyons rally. So that's only 31 years ago, Rory. So I've had some very good memories down there with lots of different drivers. But as everybody has alluded to, the anticipation whenever we went there with all the new drivers, new cars, new sponsors, everybody turned up there not knowing what was going to happen. That was a marker was going to be laid down for the sort of very good competition with lots of good cars and stuff like that. I was lucky enough. I mean, you talked about Kevin Lynch. Him and I led Galway in 05, I think it was, until we somewhere. So I've had some very good runs, and even in the last few years, Alastair and I have had 3 or 4 very, very, very strong runs on the rally to get one win. But we've been on the podium at least 3 or even 4 times in the last few years, which is good to be able to come back to that. But for sure, as Alastair has alluded to, there's a different focus now. There's much more focus on the preparation and the level of sort of detail, and there's not as many things left to kind of chance, and there's not as much adventure in it. Maybe it's just the way the sport has evolved, and everybody has their own opinion whether it's the right way or not. But you still get the buzz, like you still get the same level of nervousness before you head out. So that's good.
Yeah, and it's something special, as we've said a few times tonight, about it being the first rally of the year, Alastair. And some people in new machinery for that particular event, maybe on new tyres, whatever it may be, maybe not the testing that you'd want to do. But you were always quite quick out of the blocks anytime I've noticed. Is that fair to say? You're always quite quick in the first stage, second stage? And
yeah, probably a fair comment, Trevor. Just sort of maybe seems to happen okay. I think overall I've always enjoyed Galway. So I suppose we've said a few times the Galway conditions, and just enjoy that changeable sort of road surface. I always seem to read it pretty well, and be able to get a feel for it, whereas other drivers might sort of be hesitating a bit. But I think over the years that has helped me in Galway. As Corey said, we were on the podium the last 4 years, and even when I think back to the ST days, and even in the Evo, we always had pretty strong runs, either winning the class or whatever. So it's not really a rally where I've ever lacked confidence. So I always look forward to it. And as you touched on, with it being the first event of the year, even all the fans and spectators are full of anticipation with the new cars, and everybody's been in the house over the winter, and they're eager to get out and down to Galway for a few pints and a bit of spectating.
Galway was always my memories of Galway. As I said, usually the night before the rally, so Scrutineer in Salt Hill somewhere, you go, it's in the dark, and watching the cars through Scrutineer, and if you're not competing, and then had to be a Supermax afterwards. And that was it, and back to the B&B, and then you off you went for a couple of good days crack then, and in conditions that were spectacular. Rally cars were the norm, clearly. Rory, come back to then the early days with Alastair. Just talk me through that. What did you see compared to Bertie in those early days, especially around Galway? Because, as we said, tricky conditions, but Alastair seemed to excel there.
Well, Alastair is a very natural driver anyway, and natural raw speed. And it's difficult to say what the comparisons were there, in terms of driving ability. But one thing you can definitely say is the approach was very similar, and the amount of effort and preparation that went into the rallies was very similar to what Bertie would be. Ali and me did Galway in 09, I think. Ali, was it, or 10 maybe?
10, Rory's was, yeah.
10 on the Group N car, and we had a very good run, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just that rally is a driver's rally, like, and the conditions are treacherous. As Ali says, he gets a good feel for it. He doesn't fear it, and when everything's right, you can, if you're courageous enough, you can do the times.
Like 2010 was the first year Craig landed in the Super 2000 Fiesta as well. So I remember that was a big thing at the time.
That's right. That whole year, actually, we raced them all year.
Yeah.
But Trevor, sorry if I may say there, and something I meant to say earlier, so we've been unrelated to what we're talking about right now. But the first time I did the Galway Rally was '85 with Robin Lyons, Gordy, and Gordy also did the Galway Rally with Robin in subsequent years. And I was just looking at the list of drivers. Like, I was with Robin Lyons, Vincent Bonner, Frank Maher, Davy Greer. Me did the Galway Rally at one time. Mark Higgins, Ali, and of course Gary and Bertie. Like, so it's quite a lineup of drivers over the years. Like,
not a bit of wonder you've won it 5 times. If you do enough of them, you're going to win some of them, eh?
Well, a very good finish, very good hit rate on it as well. Like.
Yeah, well done. So as I say, he's the second most successful competitor behind Austin, so that's got to be good. Yeah. Fair play. Guys, anything else you'd like to add about Galway, Alastair or Gordy, before we wrap up here?
Gordy's bound to have a few there from the old days.
It's a bit like there's plenty of stories, but some of them you couldn't really tell. So maybe I'll keep them for some other day. But one of the my best pictures that I have on the wall behind me actually is this little thing here, which I got for Christmas. Is the stages of the
hold it a bit higher, higher. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, perfect.
It's a nice line drawing taken from the map from the 2020 rally. I must say it's a very good memory of a win. So quite pleased with that. It's just like another sort of trophy in the house. But Galway's been good. As a couple of boys said, it's the first rally of the year. Shop Street can be known as a bit of a kind of party area for Friday, Saturday, and kind of Sunday night if anybody wants to have a night out. So as well as the challenge of those roads, but we have to be very from Galway from the early years right up to now, given their time to actually organise these rallies. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time and effort and things like that. To Bobby and the team and all the teams that have been there for the last 50 years. Thank you for that, and hopefully we can do it for another 50 years or whatever length of time we can survive at it.
Here, well said. Alastair, the 2020 win then was pretty special. That should have catapulted you into a fantastic championship in 2020, which didn't materialise. We just found out that, rightly so, the 21 series has been put on hold as well, or cancelled. Thoughts on that? Yeah,
obviously, who'd have thought we'd sort of still be talking about Galway 2020, really, but it's, as you say, it was sort of the last major rally, and just to say to Bobby, I still have the trophy still safe in the house there, so I'll have to keep it for another year, but
for another while, yeah.
We'll get it back down to you.
You have to come back next February then to retain it for another while.
That's it. But with what's happened, obviously, I think any championships really out the window. Hopefully, we can get a couple of rallies in, but you definitely have to feel for the organisers. I'm sure Bobby knows all about it. It's so hard to commit and put voluntary time and club money into organising an event that may not happen. So, as competitors, we can't really complain, and it's hopefully we can get back at it soon, and everybody can get back on the stages and get the spectators out.
Excellent, good work. Guys, we're going to wrap it up soon. I just can't keep these under 2.5 hours, no matter how hard I try. It just seems to be a theme now. So don't forget, folks, if you want a copy of this, The Western Warriors, the best thing to do is to get your name and address to Aidan Connolly. That's the email address there that you need. Gordy, you taking a screenshot of that? I can see you. aidancon1@gmail.com. And Bobby will keep that open until Sunday week the 14th for anybody watching the recording of the show. So if you're watching the recording and it's before Sunday the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, there you go, nice special Valentine's present for somebody if you can get that. Likewise, if you like the show, remember we've done 4 over the last 4 weeks with, I'd like to think, quite entertaining guests, including some of these guys who've been on before. They stretch right the way back as well to May of last year, as well as the live shows. The podcasts are there. I think there's 15 different episodes of that. As I said, once we get this weekend out of the way, I've got a couple in the can that I need to edit and get there with McAlore and Robert Reid, which some fascinating insights from both those guys. Michael, of course, with Dakar, and Robert Reid is just somebody who's uber intelligent. And we'll have to do a little bit of editing around that because Robert, he's got loads of models and things that he's finished. So we need to sort of narrow it down into content that we can actually get you to use, which is the big ethos with Stage by Stage. At the end of each episode, I'm trying to give you an action list of things you can actually do. But Robert and I just went off in tangents about theories and models and things like that. Folks, if you've been watching this and you're one of the 400 people who've watched this live, hats off to you. I know not everybody stays for the whole lot, but it's just incredible. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure putting it all together. And Bobby, thoughts on it? This was your idea initially. So how do you think it went?
Trevor, I'm delighted the way it went, and I'm really bowled over by all the comments of the competitors. I mean, I haven't been involved for all 50 years by any means, but you know, it's fantastic to hear their comments really about the event and how important it was to them and how much they enjoyed it and came back for it. You know, maybe just a couple of things. I mean, Eamon Cotter was the Turk of the course at the start. He's been mentioned a few times. Gary Leonard, who ran the event last year, also ran the event 6 years in a row, or not sorry, in a row, 6 years altogether. And Gary would have been running a 7th year this year, but it happened. And he was so looking forward to it because, you know, it was going to be the 50th and we're going to make a special effort. And we actually got funding from the city council. I mean, it was just, you know, the pandemic has come and unfortunately that's that. We'll do what we can for next year, please God, you know. I've mentioned John O'Connell as well because he ran the event 6 times. I'm just looking at a couple of notes here if you don't mind. Kieran Donoghue is probably well known to some of you as well. He ran the event 4 times. And, you know, running this event is a huge undertaking because the lads explain about the recce and the rally and the rain and the, you know, the surface water and the surface fog and ice or whatever it was. But, you know, the Turks of the course have it for 3 months beforehand or 4 months beforehand, really, you know. And Eugene mentioned marshalling as well. I mean, the marshals are out in you know, they're out in the pitch dark in the morning when they're put there, and it's probably pitch dark by the time they're finished in the evening as well. And it's not too hot or warm in the middle either. So fair play to everybody concerned. I know you want to wrap up, but I just mentioned one other person. There's a key member of our club who's had a little bit of coronary care recently, and he's recuperating well, and it's Mark Parsons, again, probably known to most of you there as well. Mark is well known for travelling the countryside, marshalling. He's part of the West Coast Championship. He's one of our safety crew drivers or whatever. But anyway, he's recuperating from an operation. I know he's listening or looking in tonight. He said he would be. So just all the best to him as well, and we'll meet up before the summer is out, hopefully, with all the other members of the club.
Yeah, for people as well that want to buy this, Bobby, the best way to do it is again through the email if they're not lucky enough to actually win a copy. If they're in the south,
you know, fair play to Plum, Tyndall, and PG Crawford and Fergus McAllen. They put that book together very quickly before Christmas, and it turned out absolutely a fantastic book. It's a great record of the 50 years of the event. Plum is selling it through his website, RPM website. So I think my suggestion would be if you're from the north of Ireland, the UK, buy it off there. Brexit has kind of complicated things a little bit, bringing in.
Can't mention Brexit here. This is a Brexit-free zone.
If you're from the Republic, maybe use that email address that Trevor has put up there. Most clubs have some copies of the book as well. But one way or the other, we'll get books to people who want to buy the book. It's a great book, you know. That's it. AidenCon1@gmail.com.
There we go. Fantastic. Folks, the comments that we've had tonight, mind-blowing. There's just literally hundreds of them there. I can't get to them simply because of the quality of the guests. There's far too many stories, but thanks a million as always for the comments, and some of them extremely kind. I will get back and I'll reply to them as I always do, as much as possible, but it's going to take me tomorrow to recover. So maybe from Sunday onwards we'll do that. Any last thoughts in, guys? Rory, Alastair, Gordy, before we go?
Well, just to say again a wee bit, Bobby, directed really to you, like we as competitors are really we're really indebted to Galway Motor Club, for putting up the event and running the event every February. And it's like we said, a very challenging event to go to do, but we do realise how much work goes into it, and the big effort from all the people, marshals, and even the girls that signing on and that documentation and all. And we're very grateful for that. Sometimes at the time we have a lot going on, but ultimately we're very grateful for it, and fair play to the Galway Rally. And congratulations on the 50 years, and we're all looking forward to the next.
Excellent. Brilliant. Yeah, as a member of a motor club and the committee of a motor club, and being heavily involved in the organisation of the Lurgan Park Rally, I understand exactly what it means to be a volunteer in a motor club, and the hours of effort and the determination and the conditions. And we refer back to your first event in 1994, which was literally the perfect storm. Everything could have went wrong that year, and fair play to you, still here, still president of the club. It's mighty to see, and long may it continue that many people like you throughout the country continue to promote this sport and help out and volunteer. Folk, that's it for another week. We will be back next Friday with who knows at this point. We'll make it up as we go as normal. Take care, folks. We'll see you next time.